I gave Tom one filled out so
Yes.
far.
She's parking.
Hello?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags here. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Pulitzer, can you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Chairman. The roll call for the commissioners. Commissioner Peter B.
Present.
Commissioner John J. Reinhardt.
Present.
Commissioner Maureen Fitzgerald.
Present.
Commissioner Christopher Devane.
Present.
Commissioner Eric Millett.
Present.
Commissioner David Mejias.
Present.
Commissioner Jared Cashow.
Present.
Commissioner Andrea Wyatt.
She's parking her car. She'll be here shortly.
I'm sorry, sir?
She's parking. She'll be in
Okay,
shortly.
thank you. Commissioner James Megan Jr.
Present.
Commissioner Michael Pernick.
Present.
And the chairman today is Thomas Alfano.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pulitzer. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Just, can I have a point of order? I don't believe there's anything in the charter, and we have not been put on notice that that Chairman Maroney has been replaced, or that there's been anyone appointed in his stead. There's no precedent to have somebody just replace the chairman. I believe the county executive would have to appoint a replacement, and there's been no notice of that. So this is just, there's been a lot of irregularities throughout this process. This is just another one of them. I mean, for instance, tonight's the first night we actually have an interpreter, and we barely got that done. So, I don't know that, respectfully, Mr. Alfano, despite, my personal admiration for you, I do not believe that there is any legal precedent or that any authority for you to replace Mr. Maroney, especially without notice either to the public or to the commissioners.
As it happens, Frank Maroney is ill with COVID, couldn't be here tonight. I received a letter from the county executive appointing me as the temporary chairman. And I stand before you now prepared to preside over these proceedings, and I'm anxious to hear what the public has to say about these maps.
Well, I appreciate that. I would have loved for you to come to all the other hearings, so you'd have at least some background as to what's been happening so far at these hearings and the various debates we've had over when the public hearings would happen, all of the resolutions that we've proposed, all the votes that have been taken. So without the requisite historical background, I think it would be difficult for you to serve as chair. Nonetheless, the chairman, the non-voting chairman of the Redistricting Commission, is appointed by the county executive through a filing with the clerk's office, with the clerk of the legislature. And we've not been put on notice that there was a filing with the clerk of the legislature that there would be a replacement of Mr. Maroney this evening. This is the first we're actually hearing of it. Well, and just as an aside, we've been communicating directly with Mr. Maroney about various technical issues and other information we want to disseminate to the public. And him not being here does not give any context or to the emails that have been going back and forth about how this hearing was going to be conducted today.
Well, is your objection that we proceed with these proceedings?
My objection is that my objection is not that we proceed. I want to proceed, and I want to actually have more of these hearings. My objection is that there's no legal authority for you to preside over this hearing. Since there's no legal authority for you to preside over this hearing, then perhaps Mr. B and myself can co-chair the hearing, since we're duly appointed members of the commission, and the public and the county legislators and the majority and minority and the clerk of the legislature have all been put on notice for quite some time of our appointment. So the lack of notice is troubling, and I don't know that you can legally preside over this public hearing. which is just another irregularity.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is you've just represented that the county executive has in fact appointed you to act in Mr. Maroney's absence. So may I suggest that we go forward and hear from the public?
Well, can we have a copy
with
of
all
the
due
letter?
respect,
Sorry.
and without diminishing your role in the slightest, there's not a lot of chairing to do except to call on members of the public to please tell the commission what their views are with respect to how lines should be redrawn.
Well,
And I believe we have a copy of the letter here.
I'm sorry. Well, I think after the hearing's already begun is probably the worst possible time to put anyone on notice of what's going to be happening at the hearing. So there should be advance notice. The chair is appointed by the county executive, and that the mechanism for that is through a filing with the clerk of the legislature and putting the public and all the other and on notice of who the county executive is appointing. So having failed to file with the clerk of the legislature the requisite notice of any replacement, or in the very least advise us before this very minute that that would be happening, I don't think there's a legal mechanism for a quote-unquote replacement chairman.
I'd like to move on. Counselor, here's a copy of the county executive's letter to me appointing me as the temporary chair due to the illness of the chair.
Okay, and I understand that it says by regular and electronic mail, but none of us received that. So who was it mailed or emailed to?
The CCs are present on the bottom of the letter.
So just for the record, the only people who are on this, none of the commissioners were made aware that there was going to be a replacement chairman this evening. The only person that was made aware that has anything to do with this commission is the Republican executive director. The executive director for the Democratic side was left off of this email and this letter,
The minority leader,
who is not a member of this commission.
and he's on notice.
Yes, but he's not a member of the commission, nor do the commissioners have pro se discussions with the very legislators who these maps will be affecting as a matter of public policy. So I think the fact that, Ms. Cacignano was put on notice on the Republican side and that no one on the Democratic side was put on notice, I think is a material defect in what you claim to be a notice, in addition to the fact that the letter cites Nassau County Chapter Section 113, which requires the county executive to file with the clerk of the legislature any appointment.
Well, just for the record, as I said earlier, the Honorable Kavan Abrams, the minority caucus leader of the Nassau County Legislature, is on this document and has received notice. I'd like to proceed now with the first witness, if you will.
Well, I'd just like to say for the record, we have no choice but to proceed on the protest. But once again, whether or not any particular Nassau County legislator was put on notice, no Democratic commissioner or staff member was put on notice. The Democratic commissioners do not discuss matters directly regarding the commission as a matter of public policy. I don't believe any commissioner here should be discussing the business of the commission with that, other than what's said in public, with any legislator, since this proceeding, these hearings, and these maps that we will recommend directly affect them. And so we do not have ex-parte communications with them. So having said that, I have no objection to proceeding under protest. However, we do have, there is a matter, which you may or may not know about, but we do have, prior to the public hearing this evening, or hearing from the public, we wanted to we would say a few words about the redistricting process and have and we have a PowerPoint for that as well that we'd like to present. Pretty brief, but I think the people here at this public hearing should know what this process is about, should know what happens in terms of how the maps are drawn, partisanship, the science and the methodology behind the process as well. So I believe the Freeport School District, and let me just thank everybody from the Freeport School District that made tonight possible, from the staff, opening, closing, everyone that's helped us with our technical issues for tonight. So I want to thank the Freeport School District, the administrators, superintendent, school board, and especially the staff that is here as well. So thank you very much. Let's have a big round of applause for the Freeport staff who's helped us so much tonight. So
Now, with regard to this video, which none of us have seen, no one on the right side of this dais has seen it. It's not on the agenda. It wasn't agreed to. We have no idea what the content is. It could be anything. And I don't feel comfortable presiding over a meeting that's open to the public, which is reserved for public comment. That's your comment, not the comment of the commission, not the comment of the commissioners, not the comment of me. This is your time that we're imposing upon right now, ladies and gentlemen, and I, for one, think this is inappropriate, and I would call this to a vote.
well, first of all,
Mr. Alfano, if I just may interrupt for a moment, you don't have the benefit of hearing public comment prior to today, and you'll know, and we'll explain to you, and you'll probably hear by way of public comment this evening, that the public has a right and an expectation to hear the discussion that's had among this board and to be educated on all issues regarding redistricting so they can have a meaningful opportunity to participate in this process. And many people have gotten up and explained the confusion and the frustration that they've personally experienced in connection with what goes on here. So I totally disagree with what you've just said. This is not a matter of just the public coming up to speak. They want to hear what we have to say. They want to make sure that this process is transparent, and they want to make sure that we're doing the job that we've been tasked with.
Mr. Cascio, respectfully, I disagree with you. There has been time set aside for tonight to hear from the public. That is what we are here to do. As far as any presentations that commission members want to make, as the temporary chairman just indicated, this time has been allocated to hear from the public, not from us. We reached out through our executive director. If you would kindly extend the courtesy of allowing individuals to speak up here, your turn will come.
But excuse me, please.
We asked through our executive director to learn of the content, the length, the nature of the document beforehand, and were met with silence. So we do not know what it is you propose to present. We're happy to receive a copy, review it, and should we also approve that this is appropriate material for presentation by the commission, then it can be presented at some subsequent hearing. But for tonight, we have set this time aside to hear from the public, and I again ask the temporary chair to call the first person to the podium.
well, I'm sorry, but another point of order. The temporary chair, Mr. Alfano, brought up the fact that it's not on the agenda, so I would call for a vote on the agenda.
Are you making a motion to make this presentation before we hear from the public? Is that your motion?
No, the excuse for not hearing the presentation is because it's not on the agenda, but we haven't voted on the agenda. So, nor, by the way, did we vote on the initial set of public hearings that were going to be that were announced to the public. There was no input from us, and there was no vote on when the hearings would occur initially. So having said that, since Mr. Maroney said that he wants a vote on whether or not we can present information to the public, and Mr. Alfano was saying it's not on the agenda, we should have a vote before we do anything on what the agenda actually is. So I am calling for a vote on the agenda.
And what specifically are you moving?
Well,
What is your motion?
there's some agenda. I heard I don't know, maybe I misheard, but I heard Mr. Alfano say that there is an agenda, and the PowerPoint that we want to present to the public is not on the agenda. And the agenda hasn't been voted on. So I would like to vote, I would like to know what the agenda is and whether or not, and I would like to have a call for a vote on it.
Is there a transcript or is there a copy of this PowerPoint that we can perhaps look at so that we know what it's about and what content it is?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this, if you don't mind, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
so just to be clear, before we present evidence to the public, we have to figure out whether or not we're okay with what's going to be told to you. And if you don't like it, do you want to censor part of it? Is there part of the PowerPoint that you don't that if you don't agree with a part of the PowerPoint, you're going
You're-
to say
you're-
you don't want, like, you're more than welcome to have a copy to follow along. In fact, we'll give everybody a copy if
No.
you want to follow along as we present the PowerPoint.
You're trying to use commission time to make a presentation at a point in time that has been set aside to hear from the public. We asked you for this in advance. You declined to give it to us. So at this point in time, we think we should hear from the public.
Well-
Show it to us in between hearings. We'll review it. And if we think it's a proper topic for the commission to present to the public, then we can do so. Right now, you're trying to act on behalf of the commission.
Well, there's a vote on the floor. There's a motion on the floor to approve or disapprove the current agenda or add, and I vote that any agenda presented includes the PowerPoint on it. That's my motion.
So you're making a motion to add the PowerPoint presentation to this evening's agenda?
I will take the agenda that you're putting forth with the amendment that the PowerPoint will be on it and put the entire agenda up for a vote. Yes.
All right, let's call for a vote. Who's in favor of that motion? The ayes, please.
You gotta, I would do
One by one.
I'm sorry. Mr. Pulitzer, please.
You can do it yourself.
On the motion to add an item to the chairman's agenda, I vote nay.
Commissioner John Reinhardt?
No.
Is that a no, sir? No. Okay. Commissioner Maureen Fitzgerald?
No.
Commissioner Christopher Devane?
No.
Commissioner Eric Millette?
No.
Commissioner David Mahias?
On the motion to vote on the agenda with the amendment that would allow the PowerPoint, which means we're voting on the entire agenda, I vote yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jared Cashow?
I vote aye, yes.
Commissioner Andrina Wyatt?
Yes.
Commissioner James Macon Jr.? Commissioner James Macon Jr. is here or not here?
He is not here. He had a family emergency and had to leave here, so I don't believe
Okay.
he's going to be here for the rest of the meeting. So let's just let the record reflect that Mr. Megan had to leave for a family emergency.
Fine. Commissioner Michael Pernick?
Vote yes.
And that would do it.
So what is the vote? The motion fails. We'd
Correct.
like to proceed with the public hearing. The first
Well, since we don't have an agenda,
Casey
wait,
Marlowe,
hold on a second. I still have the floor, by the way. Since we don't have an agenda, I will, and you're not going to let us show the PowerPoint. Well, can you give everybody a copy of the PowerPoint, please? Does anyone need? Okay, let's all get a copy of the PowerPoint. And since we can't do this the right way and put it up on the big screen to make it easy for you, everyone, including all the commissioners, are going to get copies, and we're going to read along with it so that you guys understand, so the public understands, right, what's happening here, what's going on here. Because just to say, we're here to hear from you, when you haven't been told what we're doing is wrong, right? How are you going to comment on something that you haven't heard about and you don't know anything about? And that's one of the ways that speech and the public and your input is stifled. We keep you in the dark and then say, we're going to give you all the time that you want
This is
to
out of
speak.
order.
It's not out of order.
Yes,
I
it
have
is out of
I have
order.
the floor.
It's out of
I have the floor, and we don't have an agenda. Your side just voted the agenda down. So now we're going to do this a much different way. Everyone's going to get a copy of the agenda of the PowerPoint,
including us, I hope.
Of course, including you.
Well, we requested it prior here too, and we never got it.
You didn't, because we didn't know you were going to be here.
My colleagues didn't receive it either. Sorry about
So
that.
you-
My colleagues didn't
you
receive it either.
You can't complain you didn't get a copy when we didn't even know you were going to be here. So
Hardly knew I would be here.
okay, we didn't get notice that there were hearings already scheduled until they were scheduled and there was a vote for a vote.
Thank you.
And there was no vote. So
Your vote to add to the agenda was voted down.
no, I voted.
If
I
you would
voted.
like-
I voted on the agenda. Mr. Alfano said was presented to the public with an amendment on the entire with an amendment to the entire agenda. We didn't vote on the agenda.
You
So you're telling me that we did not vote on the agenda. There's no agenda that's been voted on, right? One vote took place on an agenda that your side voted down. Now we don't have an agenda. So now, since I have the floor, we're going to do the PowerPoint. Page by
Mr.
page.
Mejias, I'm asking the chairman to read,
Thank you, thank you.
to rule you out of the way.
When, you know, if that's a request to yield the floor, it's denied.
No video.
So, does everyone, we'll wait till everyone has a copy. Does everyone have a copy yet? All right. Does anyone need a copy? Does anyone need a copy in Spanish? ¿Alguien aquí necesita una copia de la presentación en español? Okay.
We'll take a 10-minute recess.
Is there a motion for a recess? I'm sorry.
Is there a motion for a recess?
So let's do, okay, so, all right, so so do we want to vote, is there a motion for a recess?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm asking that you declare a brief recess.
Well, there's I can tell you now, there's going to be there's not going to be 6 votes for a recess. All right, so here we go.
All right, now may we call Mr. Casey Marlowe, please?
Okay, I'm not sure how you're proceeding when I have the floor, and you guys, and there's no agenda because you voted it down.
We do not take the position that you have the floor.
You don't have to.
The chair has called.
You don't have to. I have the floor, and there's no agenda. I'm sorry. I'm not yielding the floor to you.
If you're not going to allow for the parties to take turns, there's not much point to this discussion.
Oh, you'll have your turn. Trust me. You can have to say everything that you want to say when I'm done. So, just for the record, this PowerPoint and presentation to the PowerPoint
recess.
to the okay. I mean, I don't see. Okay. All right. Listen.
Why would you walk out on the community?
So since the vote on the recess did not pass, we're going to continue while certain commissioners have abdicated their responsibility. We're going to continue with ours. This is on the record. This is all on the record. Thank you. Just for the record, there was a motion for a recess which did not pass, so we are still on the record. So there was a motion to put the PowerPoint up on the screen, which was denied by the Republican commissioner. So I believe it. So I don't think that would be proper. I'm sorry, but I don't think it would be proper to do that. And we're trying to play by the book here. We are trying to play by the rules. So there was a vote. So. Okay. The commission is in. This is a public hearing. The commission is not in recess, and we need to continue on the record, please.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes.
I'm asking that this body that's currently on the dais right now contact the county attorney by telephone and ask for an ethics evaluation of what just happened when half of the commission that's been appointed has walked out on the public, and that call be made immediately by the Dems that are on the dais right now, asking for a ruling and placing them in context of being actually dismissed for walking out on their constitutional duty. I ask that take place right now.
Well, I'm going to direct our counsel to make that call so that we can continue with the presentation.
I appreciate that, and I think that's appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Burlington.
Thank you.
So, does everyone have a copy? And I just want to confirm that our court reporter is keeping the record of this. Okay, so respectfully. What's the clerk's name again? What's the clerk's name? Respectfully, so the commissioners have the authority over the meeting. I realize Mr. Pulitzer is here, the clerk of the legislature, but he is not a voting member or a member of the commission. So the members of the commission that are here are asking this to be on the record, please. Yes. Thank you.
Now,
And if there's an objection to that down the road, they can make an objection and they can have the record stricken. So, and they can have it removed from the record. But
The
for
commissioners do not want it on the record.
Okay, but I understand that, but you have not been recognized by anybody to speak. And I don't recognize you. The commission is directing the court reporter to take the minutes of the meeting, and if the Republican delegation has a problem with it, they can make a motion to strike the record or go to court and do whatever they want to do to prevent the public from understanding what's actually happening during this process. So, Madam Reporter, sorry, you're not recognized, sir. You can take a seat. So I understand that, but you have no authority here, and you can take a seat. Thank you. So I am asking, sir, you do not have the authority. Please sit down. Be respectful of the public's time. Okay? We would have been. This PowerPoint would have been over with already. For the life of me, I do not understand. This is an 8-page PowerPoint. You guys all have a copy of the PowerPoint. I do not understand. What is it that they don't want you to know? Why are they fighting us so hard on informing the public about how this process works, what's happening behind the scenes when we're not on the record and not in front of you? So we're going to tell you exactly what we're doing, right, behind the scenes and how this works, and we're going to ask the Republican delegation to do the same. So we're going to continue. We are on the record, okay, and once we're done, the public comment period can begin. So I want to turn to the topic at hand today. So I just want to be clear here, okay? So the court reporter is to continue taking the record of this public hearing. So the only person with authority up here are the commissioners. So there's no member of the public. There's nobody. This hearing has begun. Yeah. Okay, but respectfully, Madam Reporter, you're not a parliamentarian. So, and I asked for a vote. I asked for a vote on the recess, and we didn't have a vote on the recess. So, since the vote on the recess didn't pass, there's no recess. So, just like we have to vote to end the meeting, we vote on a recess. So, please just take the record, and if there's a problem later on, then the record could be stricken. Okay?
That's not what I was told.
Okay, so let's everybody be respectful. All right, we're back. So, okay, are we on the record? Are we on the record? Thank you. So, I want to turn to the topic at hand today. So, if we can all open up to our decks and the PowerPoint. Redistricting can be confusing, and naturally, many of the people in this room tonight are not familiar with the legal process of redrawing legislative district maps. To help people better understand the process, we did inform the chair and our Republican colleagues that we plan to give a brief PowerPoint presentation.
I want to say something on the record, if you don't mind. I'd love to call the first speaker. The public has a copy of this PowerPoint, which you've disseminated. They're all capable of reading it and following, and I don't think you have to go through it point by point for them. They're capable of doing it. Casey Marlowe, please.
So I still have the floor. So I'm not really sure what we're doing. I'm not really sure what you're doing. I haven't seated the floor, so I do still have the floor. So to help people better understand the process, we did inform the chair, Mr. Maroney, and our Republican colleagues that we plan to give a brief PowerPoint presentation with Spanish translation this evening. Quite unbelievably, Chairman Maroney told us that we are not permitted to show a PowerPoint presentation. He claims that we need 6 votes to make a simple presentation to the people here in this room. I don't believe Mr. Maroney has the authority to prohibit any member of the commission or commissioner from using PowerPoint to communicate information to the public during the hearing. So I'm going to ask our staff to continue to hand out the PowerPoint to anyone else that walks in the room and doesn't have one. So on the first page, the general redistricting overview, which actually is after the cover page. It says redistricting overview at the top. So redistricting is the foundation upon which our democracy is built. The redistricting process occurs every 10 years following the decennial census. Across the country, districts must be redrawn at every level: congressional lines, state legislative districts, and even local districts. This process concerns the redistricting for the Nassau County Legislature. The last time Nassau County redrew its legislative districts was for the 2013 election. On the second page, the Nassau County, The Nassau County Temporary Districting Advisory Commission is made up of 10 members, 5 appointed by the presiding officer of the legislature, presiding officer Nick Ludlow, Republican, by virtue of a filing with the clerk of the legislature, 5 appointed by the minority leader, Kavan Abrahams, by virtue of a filing and upon notice to the clerk of the legislature, and a non-voting member who serves as chairman, who is appointed by the county executive on notice by a filing with the clerk of the legislature. The Redistricting Commission is charged to submit recommendations for a new map of the 19 legislative districts to the Nassau County Legislature. And according to the Nassau County Charter, every action by the Commission is required to have 6 votes, and that's very important. The Commission's process includes hearings from members of the public to comment on the process, the current maps, and proposed maps. Note, the Commission's current schedule denies you the opportunity to comment on the maps proposed by the Commission. If you go to the next page, the new proposed maps must comply with both the federal and state law. Among other things, the United States Constitution, the Federal Voting Rights Act, the New York State Voting Rights Act, which is new since the last legislative districts were drawn, and the New York Municipal Home Rule Law. Next page, slide forward. The process and concerns. We have repeatedly expressed our concerns about the grave deficiencies in the redistricting process so far. Oh, which one did I say? That's the next slide. So this slide has some basic information about Nassau County with its population, its towns, cities, and the extreme racial diversity. According to the U.S. Census, in the last 10 years, Nassau's white population has gone from 73% to 58.5%. In the last 10 years, we have seen increases in every minority community, an increase of over 30% in the Latino community, and an increase in over 60% the Asian community. This commission has continued to provide inadequate and misleading hearing notices. As of this Tuesday morning, the Home Pages Commission's website still failed to give notice of tonight's hearing, despite the Democratic delegation's demand that such notice be clearly posted. Until a few days ago, the homepage made it seem that the next hearing was not tonight in Freeport, but on October 20th in Massapequa. Nor did the homepage contain any notice of the meeting to be held in Elmont on the 26th. So no notice of the hearing in Freeport, no notice of the hearing in Elmont, but notice of the hearing in Massapequa. I wonder what the correlation might be. To find any notice of tonight's hearing on the Commission website, members of the public would have to know to click on the link entitled View All Agendas and Minutes on the county website, not on our website, on the entire county website. And the notice of tonight's hearing was completely buried on that page. Although the home page was finally updated yesterday, the damage has already been done. Up until the very evening of this hearing, the website obscured the public notice. This is why the Democratic commissioners have been left with no choice but to release our own unofficial public share drive, which contains in one central location any information that we are able to get from members of the public, background on the redistricting process, each of the resolutions that we have introduced, and written submissions from the public, and more. You can access our shared drive by scanning the QR code on the card. I believe the QR code is on this page of the PowerPoint, similar to when you went to a restaurant to look at the menu and the PowerPoint during COVID. Now we can make everything available to you in one central location. We have asked the commission and the commissioner to do this on the county website, and they have refused. There's been not only deficient but dysfunctional language access. At our last commission hearing, it was pointed out that the Spanish language services available to the public were essentially non-functional and completely unsuited to the task of translating at a public hearing. The Democratic delegation has insisted that for this hearing, the county administration provide meaningful translation services via headset technology that would give full access to the entire proceeding, including the testimony of every witness and all of the discussion by the commissioners, as well as the ability for members of the public with limited English proficiency to address the commission. This is the only way to provide real language access for people that do not speak English, or perhaps people that speak Spanish. Freeport has a very high Spanish-speaking population. It makes it difficult to reach out to the Hispanic community and to come to these meetings when we don't know until basically today that we would have translation services from them. The administration denied our request and said the best that they could do is provide an interpreter to translate for individuals who wish to make a statement to the commission, which was inadequate and unacceptable. They could not even commit to providing a certified translator. So the Democratic delegation has done what the administration and the commission chair, Mr. Maroney, not Mr. Alfano, should have done in the first place. At our request, the Freeport School District has graciously allowed us to use their headset technology. Thank you. We were only able to provide this thanks to the cooperation of the Freeport School District. The Republican commissioners were responsible for setting up most of the upcoming hearings, and we are concerned that we will not provide adequate translation at those hearings. Freeport has a very large Spanish-speaking population. The need for effective translation services was clear from the beginning, as well as the need to prevent a fiasco similar to what occurred in Long Beach when the language line failed to function. Yet Chairman Maroney, the Republican delegation, and county administration failed to finalize the arrangements to have a Spanish language interpreter for this hearing until the very last minute. This has substantially hindered our ability to conduct fully effective outreach to the Spanish-speaking community. In addition, the secrecy that has occurred with this commission, especially when it comes to outside consultants and experts. Redistricting is a technical process in which experts and consultants play a critical role. The Democratic delegation, we strongly believe that the public, you deserve to know who is doing this important work on behalf of the commission. And after all, by the way, it's your tax dollars that are paying for it, so you should know who they are. From the very beginning of the process, we have advocated for transparency and full disclosure of the identities of experts by both the Republican and Democratic delegation. At the very first meeting of this commission, Commissioner Pernick proposed a resolution that would require that disclosure. That resolution failed. Each and every one of the Republican commissioners voted against it and made sure that the disclosure failed, that there would be none. There would be no requirement that we tell you what's going on behind the curtain. We have now tried to reach an informal agreement on expert transparency. We have written Chairman Maroney requesting a mutual exchange of the identities of each delegation's experts and consultants and a description of the work they are performing. In response, we have received a carefully worded response by the chair stating that the Republican delegation has not engaged any consultants and experts, but they still haven't told us who is drawing the maps for them. Next, we asked Republican outside counsel, point blank, who is drawing the maps? But we still could not get a straight answer. We know someone's drawing their maps. We know someone's drawing the maps of the Republican delegation, but they refuse to say who it is. In contrast, the Democratic delegation has been an open book regarding the people that work for us. We have not only disclosed our political science expert, Dr. Daniel Magleby, we have even introduced into the public record his preliminary report so that everyone knows exactly what he is working on. In addition, in a few moments, Commissioner Pernick will introduce a preliminary report from our demographic expert, Dr. Megan Gall. I call upon the Republican commissioners to disclose tonight in public the identities of the experts who are drawing maps or will be drawing maps on their behalf, so that the full commission and the public have a right to know. Now, I'm going to cede the floor to my colleague, Commissioner Cashow, to address the refusal from the Republican commissioners to disclose maps.
Thank you, Commissioner Mejias. What I'm about to say will come as no surprise to folks who have attended the previous 4 meetings, and that is the Commission currently has set, well, I should say the Chairman has unilaterally set a schedule whereby draft redistricting maps will be released to the public and transmitted to the legislature on the same day, leaving the public a mere 60 minutes between hearings on November 10th to review those maps. I submit, and my colleagues on the Democratic side submit that schedule makes a mockery of the transparency and openness that this commission ought to abide by. Clearly, that schedule is intended to shield the proposed Republican map from any meaningful scrutiny by the public or the Democratic delegation. 1 hour is a ludicrous proposal which is both an affront to the public and in conflict with the Commissioner's duties under the Charter. The Charter requires this Commission to ensure that the maps presented to the county legislature comply with all applicable laws, including the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution, the prohibitions on racial vote dilution in the federal and state voting rights acts, and new prohibitions on partisan gerrymandering under the Municipal Home Rule Law. No map can go to the legislature unless the Commission determines that each one of those provisions and all the legal standards they contain have been complied with. It hardly needs to be said that such a complex determination cannot even begun to be completed within 60 minutes. The schedule also prevents any opportunity for the Commission to come to a bipartisan consensus on maps. It has been reported in the press, as many of you have seen, that in Suffolk County, both the Democrats and the Republicans were able to come together and reach consensus and unanimously approve a map. Apparently, they had time to negotiate, to go back and forth and eventually agree on an approach that could be earned bipartisan consensus. It is literally impossible for our Commission to reach a similar bipartisan agreement in 60 minutes because the current schedule is structured to prevent any opportunity for us to work together. And the schedule is dooming this process to fail. Now, numerous members of the public, some of whom may be in attendance this evening, have strenuously objected to the current schedule. In response to this pressure, Chairman Maroney, who is unfortunately not here this evening, and I wish him a speedy recovery, has grudgingly stated that the schedule is not written in stone. However, while the Chair's words are hopeful, the actions of the Republican delegation suggest the opposite. The Chair and the Republican commissioners have refused every opportunity to set a reasonable schedule for the release of any draft maps. At the very first Commission meeting, Commissioner Pernick proposed a resolution that provided for the publication of maps by October 14th and for 7 further public hearings after their release. As with every other common-sense resolution we have proposed, this one was rejected by all 5 Republican commissioners. We tried again at the Commission's hearing on September 21st, when Commissioner Pernick proposed another resolution that would have required proposed maps to be presented to the public and published in draft form no later than 3 weeks in advance. Again, the Republican commissioners refused to support our 3-week proposal. We tried again at the Commission's September 28th public hearing, when I proposed that the maps be released 2 weeks in advance. But the Republican delegation once again refused to commit even to those 2 weeks. We are now making one last-ditch effort to have some semblance of public disclosure. I once again ask my Republican colleagues, will you at the very least agree to release draft maps 1 week prior to any Commission action to transmit such maps to the legislature? And 1 week is certainly not sufficient. In fact, it's far from sufficient. But in the interest of giving the Republican delegation at least one opportunity to give an inch and restore some measure of transparency and bipartisanship to what is a culmination and the most important step in our process, I ask them to agree at least to 1 week. And with that, I'll make a formal motion to that effect and ask for a roll call vote.
I'll second the motion.
So the motion is to require that both the Democratic and Republican commissioners transmit and exchange at least 1 week in advance of the deadline to submit the map to the legislature to one another and to publish it to the public for review and comment.
We will have a vote on the motion. Commissioner Peter B.
Now that the political mudslinging, speechifying that was ruled out of order is apparently over, a motion has been made to set an arbitrary timeline for the presentation of maps. I again, as I have said on prior occasions, feel that the executive directors should engage in a dialogue as these public hearings unfold, and that a timeline be set. As the chairman has previously said, the tentative timetable was not carved in stone, and it is my hope that the two executive directors can work out a timetable. But for the present motion, which I think is untimely and inappropriate, I vote no.
Thank you. Commissioner John Reinhardt.
No.
Commissioner Maureen Fitzgerald.
No.
Commissioner Christopher Devane.
No.
Commissioner Eric Millett.
No.
Commissioner David Mejias.
Yes.
Commissioner Jared Cashow.
Yes.
Commissioner Andrina Wyatt.
Yes.
And Commissioner Michael Pernick.
Yes.
The vote is 5 noes, 4 yes.
Because I want to put the
Motion fails.
and I want to put the Republican commissioners on notice. The Democratic delegation will not supply the 6th vote to transmit any map to the legislature until there has been an opportunity for meaningful public review of the map and an opportunity to determine whether the map complies with the law. So without 6 votes, a commission can send no maps to the legislature. For you to have just 1 hour to review a map that's going to determine your representation in government for the next 10 years is just simply ludicrous. So I'd like to finish we're going to go finish the PowerPoint. I'm going to cede the floor to Commissioner Pernick to discuss the Magleby report, which is one of the consultants that we hired, and we want to make sure you know exactly what we hired them for and what they're doing and what they've come up with.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mejias. So if you turn to the next slide in the deck, we have a few bullet points on a report that we submitted a few weeks ago from Dr. Daniel Magleby. Now, Dr. Magleby, he's a professor of political science up in Binghamton. He is one of the leaders in the field of understanding redistricting. He's testified before courts. He specializes in this as his expertise. So he is one of the people who we trust, who members of the public trust, and he's not a partisan person, he's an academic, and he looks at the facts, and that's what we asked him to do. Now, we've spoken about this before, and we talked about it today. There have been some changes in the law, and one of the changes in the law is that it's now illegal in New York State to pass a partisan gerrymander. It's now illegal in New York State for the maps that emerge from this process to be biased in favor of one party over the other, to make it more difficult for members of one party to have their voices heard. And there are standard, objective ways to measure whether a map violates these rules. And that's what we asked Dr. Magleby to look at for us. And he started, and the report that we put into the record looks at the current map as a starting point to see where is it that we're at today, where are we starting from. And his conclusion was very clear. His conclusion left no room for doubt that the current map is an illegal partisan gerrymander. Now, the way in which he did this analysis, for a nerd like me, I really enjoy it. Maybe there's some folks in the audience who think this is cool. What he did is he used computer simulations and generated 10,000 randomly simulated maps, all of which comply with the requirements of the law. And then what he does is he looks at those maps and compares them to the actual map and sees what would the outcome be based on projected election results. And the way this analysis works, if the map that's being evaluated is more extreme than most of those maps, courts will conclude that the map is an illegal partisan gerrymander. Well, what did Dr. Magleby find for the current county legislative map? He found that it is more extreme than all 10,000 random generated maps and extreme in favor of Republican voters and against Democratic voters. So it was very clear cut, and that's exactly the standard that the New York Court of Appeals has adopted and relied on in Harkenrider v. Hochul. That's the standard that courts looking at partisan gerrymanders, state courts in other states, have relied on as well. So we know that the current map violates that provision, and that means we need to start from scratch. If we use the current map as a starting point, we're going to be violating the partisan gerrymandering rules. Now, I want to turn to the next slide.
The neutral party blind process.
Yeah, so as Dave's pointing out to me, the analysis that he's doing, it is a neutral process. It's blind to party. It's not favoring one part or the other. It's a neutral process, and the odds that a map could be drawn in a neutral process that's this extreme, it's less than 1 in 10,000. So we know that this map is an extreme partisan gerrymander, and we know it based on an academic, nonpartisan, middle-of-the-road report where we asked our expert to look at the facts. Now, today, I'm going to introduce into the record a second report. And if I could pass these out, so we'll need 6 copies. And I have one for the clerk. Should I walk it down to you? Okay. We'll have one brought down to you. Here's some copies from my colleagues over here. And I believe we have colleagues of this new report for members of the audience. Now, this new report is a preliminary assessment of whether the current map and maps that are substantially similar to the current map would comply with Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act and would comply with the brand new John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York, which is also called the New York Voting Rights Act. And, you know, the takeaway from this analysis, just like the takeaway from the first analysis, it's simple and it's extremely important. There is substantial evidence that the current map violates both the federal and the state Voting Rights Act. And this means that if this commission recommends a map and the county legislature adopts a map that's similar to the current map, we risk violating, first, the partisan gerrymandering rules in the Municipal Home Rule Law, second, the Federal Voting Rights Act, third, the State Voting Rights Act, the brand new provisions in the state VRA. Now, let me take a step back and explain what this means. The Federal Voting Rights Act is, I believe, the most significant civil rights legislation in our nation's history. It's designed to protect communities of color against racial discrimination in voting. It was adopted in 1965 to respond to centuries, hundreds of years of racial discrimination in our country and ongoing racial discrimination in the voting context, not just in the South, but across the country. It was a landmark bill that provided sorely needed protections across our country. Now, courts have litigated Section 2 violations for many years, so we know exactly what needs to be proven in the redistricting context to show that a map violates. There are 3 preconditions. First, you need to prove that there's an alternate map that gives Black or Latino voters additional opportunities to elect candidates of their choice. Basically, more districts, more majority-minority districts than there are. Second, you need to prove that the minority community is cohesive, tends to vote for the same candidates. And third, you need to prove that without additional majority-minority districts, Black or Latino voters would be shut out of the process, except for maybe a few districts, would be denied an equal opportunity to participate in the process and elect candidates of their choice. So the way that you do that analysis, you walk through those 3 preconditions. The second and third are collectively referred to as racially polarized voting. So you need to do what's called a racially polarized voting analysis. And that's exactly what we have done here. Now, the New York Voting Rights Act, it's even simpler. All you need to do to prove a violation of the New York Voting Rights Act is show that there's racially polarized voting. And if there's a community with standing that could benefit from an alternate proposal, they have that right if there's racially polarized voting in the county. So we asked Dr. Gall, Megan Gall, to do that assessment for us, and that's what's in this report. Now, I'll say Dr. Gall is a national expert in doing this work. She's a quantitative social science scientist, holds a PhD in political science, a master's degree in geographic information science. She specializes in VRA compliance with a focus on the Jingles preconditions. So this is exactly what she does. She's worked for the U.S. Department of Justice, state and city governments. This is what she does. And she concluded that there's substantial evidence that all three of those preconditions would be satisfied with respect to Nassau County. What does this mean in simple terms? It means the current map is racially discriminatory. It means the current map harms communities of color through cracking, through packing, through denying majority-minority districts. That's what this means. That's what we're dealing with right now. And if we continue to have a map that has these same characteristics, that map will violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That map will violate the New York Voting Rights Act. So Dr. Gull started working on alternatives to see if it's possible to draw additional majority-minority districts. And here's what she concluded. She concluded it would be easy to draw a county legislative map with 5 majority-minority districts that does a better job of respecting traditional districting principles than the current map, does a better job of having compact districts, does a better job of respecting political subdivisions, and it provides 5 districts where Nassau County's Black and Latino voters would have an opportunity, an equal opportunity, to elect candidates of their choice. That's what she's concluded. Right now, when this map was drawn, there were only 3 districts. Now, over the course of the last 10 years, there's been a growth in the minority community, so there was a 4th district that became majority-minority, Black and Latino voting age population, eligible voting population. But right now, when this map was drawn, it was only drawn with 3 districts in which Black and Latino voters comprised a majority of the voting age eligible population. We now know there should be 5. And in fact, the law requires there to be 5. It is clear-cut because these preconditions are satisfied. This also tells us that that if Nassau County fails to adopt a map with at least 5 districts, we're going to be in violation. So, based on these 2 reports that we've put into the record, this commission and the legislature are on notice of a few important things. On notice, number 1, if we pass a map that's like the current map, we're going to violate the municipal home rule law. Number 2, if we pass a map that's like the current map, we're going to violate the Federal Voting Rights Act. And number 3, if we pass a map that's like the current map, we're going to violate the brand new John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York State. So that's the submission. I'm very interested to hear what members of the public think and any comments or questions about this. I know that Commissioner Wyatt had some comments in this as well, so I'd like to ask Commissioner Wyatt to offer her thoughts as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Pernick. I just wanted to really emphasize the importance of the handout that you have, and I'm very grateful for the Democratic delegation for providing this to the members of the public. This is very important information here. This is not designed by us. This is designed by experts. And the reports that you just heard in the handout that you have, it proves what we already know. The current map discriminates against communities of color in violation of the Voting Rights Act. It is in violation of the Voting Rights Act. For too long, for far too long, communities of color have been underrepresented. We've seen tremendous growth, as you can see from this report. We've seen tremendous growth in the Black and Latino communities. Yet we are underserved in our county government. Why is that? That's because the current map packs, Nassau County current map packs Black and Latino voters into a handful of districts and then cracks the remaining voters into other districts. There's no question in my mind that we cannot use the current map as a starting point. It is discriminatory. Thank you.
Thank you. So, for the record, you now know the consultants that we've hired, you know the work that they're doing, and you had their reports. And I hope you found, well, I'll ask it, does anyone find that this was helpful in understanding the process and what it is that we're doing? All right. We're glad. Thank you for the applause, and we're glad that you were able. We're glad that you feel that way. It's very important that you know the process. It's very important that it be transparent. So that is why we're doing what we're doing, to make sure that you know what's going on our side at least, and who's drawing our maps and how they're being drawn. These are not like Democratic hitmen. These are respected academics drawing with nonpartisan reports that are just doing math. And if you do the math, there should be 5 majority-minority districts when there are now only 3. So you deserve more. The majority, the Black and Latino community deserves, and the Asian community deserve more representation in government. you pay a lot of taxes, you make up a big part of the population, and the fact that we take away your power by only having 3 majority-minority districts in the legislature means that we cannot even start with the map. We have to scrap it and start all over again. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for listening, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much. I cede the floor.
Well, I hope that we can now move on to hearing from the public, although before we do that, I do want to just make note for the record that we are now at the 5th public hearing of the Temporary Redistricting Advisory Commission, and this was designed as an opportunity for you to suggest and to tell us what you want to see in the maps specifically. Where would you like to see the lines drawn? There will also be additional opportunities for the public to have input in this process. To date, the members of both the Republican and the Democratic delegations have heard from approximately 70 speakers with varying requests to keep various communities together. I would trust that the public attendees and those streaming the proceedings will continue to feel free to share their ideas and requests. As you have observed, the commission consists of 11 members, with a non-voting chair being appointed by the county executive. There were 5 members appointed by the presiding officer and 5 by the minority leader. The commission permits but does not require public hearings, but we have gone forward with public hearings because the reapportionment process from prior occasions has established a tradition that permissive hearings seeking public input should be held. You should know that the county legislature allocated $985,000 to fund our work. The allocation is divided equally between the commissioners appointed by the presiding officer and those appointed by the minority officer. A portion of the $985,000 was set aside to pay for stenographic services, American Sign Language interpreters, Spanish-speaking interpreter, etc. Each delegation of appointees shared the balance equally for the purchase of needed mapping technology, software, experts, counsel, and other staff as deemed necessary. In developing a map or maps, the commission must comply with both federal and state law, and the proceedings have to be fair and should be transparent to the public. Transparency is being and has been achieved by significant outreach to the public and holding the public hearings on any maps or plans for redistricting submitted by these commissioners or others. Once maps or plans are drawn, there will be an opportunity for the public to see and give an opinion as to the work product. We are looking to have a full hearing in early November at a date and time to be announced. The updated website will have a link to any and all maps that may be presented to this commission, which will take comment on the work product. Thereafter, the map or maps are turned over to the legislature. Likewise, all the transcripts and all the public comments that are generated by the Temporary District Advisory Commission, us, are submitted to the full legislature for their consideration. In addition, all items not included in the record may also be delivered directly to the county legislature. The full legislature will also conduct public hearings on the submissions by the appropriate legislative committees and then by the entire legislature. The goal of this commission is to have our process complete its hearings so the legislature has adequate time to review any submissions and conduct its hearings. The county legislature has the power to reject, adopt, revise, or amend the redistricting plan or plans recommended by the temporary commission, or adopt any other redistricting plans that meets all constitutional, federal, and state statutory requirements. In an effort to achieve transparency, all meetings and hearings will be in public and streamed live over the internet. The legislative clerk will preserve the records. Further, this commission will and has streamed the hearings and will keep the record open for a period of time after the completion of public hearings. It will include these submissions, including emails, correspondence, all received prior to the date the record of the commission is closed. Nonetheless, any correspondence, email, or information received after that date will also be forwarded to the full legislature for its consideration. In preparation for this hearing, a notice of this meeting and others were sent to the following: the Office of the County Executive, all county legislators, members of the Minority Commission, members of the Majority Commission, Nassau County League of Women Voters, the City of Glen Cove, the City of Long Beach, the Town of Hempstead, the Town of North Hempstead, the Town of Oyster Bay, all 22 villages in the Town of Hempstead, 30 villages in the Town of North Hempstead, 16 villages in the Town of Oyster Bay, 55 libraries, 57 school districts, 67 civic associations, 50 chambers of commerce, and 150 news and media outlets that serve Nassau County. There will be additional hearings currently scheduled for October 18 in Glen Cove, October 20 at the Albany Avenue Community Center, and Elmont Memorial Library on October 26. Hopefully, Mr. Chairman, we can now turn to the first speaker.
Casey Marlowe, please.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak today. I hope that Chairman Maroney recovers quickly, but tonight has been an utter embarrassment. Following the letter of the law matters. Following ethical procedures, as Mr. Burlington brought up before, matters. The acting chairman of dubious legality rejecting the educational PowerPoint, which many members of the public have requested at every single hearing, people have said, we don't know what's going on, we want to be educated on this, do you have anything to show us? And you guys rejected it for what? No reason, I don't know why. But yeah, it's just laughable. It's laughable disrespect to the process, to the public, and the irregularities, the complete lack of transparency. You guys have lost the trust of the public, and you should probably lose the respect of the public. I'm a former student of Professor Magleby, whose expertise and integrity are unquestionable. And if he says that our maps are gerrymandered, then they're gerrymandered and we can't start out with them. It's illegal. It's just illegal. So I have no confidence in your guys' ability to do your jobs. And frankly, when you walked out, that was probably the best thing that you've done the entire time serving on this commission. So I would encourage you guys to do that again next time. And yeah, because you disrespect this process, you disrespect us, you disrespect the county, and you disrespect the country. Representation matters. This is why we had the revolution. Representation means resource allocation. It has a tangible impact on people's lives in the county. I just want you guys to do your jobs, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for letting me speak. I wish I could stay, but I have family obligations to take care of. So have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Trustee Clarence Griffith from Hempstead Village.
Good evening. First, I would like to also echo what the person just said prior to. It was definitely an embarrassment to get up and walk away from us. As the public, you should have stayed in your seat and act like a duck and let everything roll off your back. You should not get up and walk away from the public. We have a right to hear and see what's going on. Today, I actually made a map because I wanted you guys to see from the view where we sit. And this map that I actually made is to actually talk about what you're doing that is not fair to our community. And I know you probably can't see it, just like the maps you're not allowing us to see. And it's probably very difficult to determine what's on this map right now, and that's how we feel. So I get to explain it to you. This map right here represents the fact that you're constantly, every 10 years, taken away from our community. The black and brown community is constantly suffering every 10 years. We work together to build our community up, and then you come along and you take it. And I keep asking the same question all the time. What is fair about Garden City and Hempstead? What is fair about Uniondale and Massapequa? Last time someone came to the meeting, they said they didn't understand what wasn't fair. So I figured this time I'll bring a visual for them, just in case they needed to see it. There's nothing fair about this whatsoever. You need to stop cracking, okay? Why? Because it's not fair that you divide us. Divide and conquer. Then you turn around and you pack us. And this is what this map is showing. For those that might be able to see, there have a whole bunch of white and just a couple of black in between. You pack us in, okay? And that's not fair. Now we become the minorities. When all of a sudden you turn around and you stack it, and how you stack it is to your benefit. That now you turn around and you choose our voters, you turn around and you choose our politicians, and it's not fair at all. This needs to stop. Stop cracking, stacking, and packing. We need to do this fairly, where we also become a part of the majority and have a right to choose who we want, people like myself. I can say this because guess what? Not only am I a politician, but I'm also a resident. I'm also a business owner. I'm also a grandmother. And 10 years from now, all you guys that are sitting here, you're going to ask yourself, was this really fair? You get to see this map from a bird's view, because that's exactly what's happening right now. The people are not seeing what you're showing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you be kind enough to give that map to the clerk so that we can have that as part of the record?
And just for the record, the Democratic delegation did not walk out. We stayed here. It was the Republican delegation and the purported temporary chair who walked out of the meeting.
And just for the record, we returned, and here we are. And by the way, the dissemination of the Democrats' PowerPoint was distributed and reviewed and put and explained to you in painful detail. So,
yes, despite the fact that you voted against everybody being able to see it in the PowerPoint, we persevered and we prevailed, just like the people here will when these maps are finally coming out.
Stephanie Chase, please.
Also, one of the trustees for the Village of Hempstead. I was combined with Trustee Griffith.
Name for the record.
Trustee Noah Burrows, Village of Hempstead. Just some questions I have. The Republican side, why you guys are so against transparency. I'm not expecting an answer because you guys never talk, so it was a rhetorical question. Second thing is, why when there's such a simple motion made, there's this long dissertation instead of just saying yes or no? You have an audience here, we have lives. We don't want to sit in these meetings for 10 and for 2 hours and listening to you guys just talk to yourselves. It's pointless for that. So now that you know that there's some work that has been done, Commissioner Pernick presented you guys with some information. I'm just so curious to know, what is it you're going to do with the information that you've presented tonight? And what were you in fear of? This PowerPoint that he gave us was very clear, and the public needed that. What was it you were hiding? Is it that you now know that the public can know a little more of what goes on? No, yeah, I know. No answers again.
We didn't see it, trustee. We did not see it.
Okay, but you guys didn't want it, right?
How could you say that?
We asked for a copy.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to tell you this. As a village trustee, I'm going to make sure it's my business that I make sure that I disseminate the next meetings, the times, and I hope you guys can somehow make sure you get those times and those dates available so that we can make it available to not only our residents but also the neighboring residents so that they can all find time to make these meetings, because I think they deserve that.
Well, as I noted a moment ago, all villages were given notice of all of these meetings.
Yes, but when you check those meeting times, sometimes they're a little outdated, and you guys will change the times, and that's not fair. People are working individuals, and they need to know ahead of time. They need to plan that they may have babysitters. There's a lot of things that go into making a meeting. As you know, when you guys plan this meeting, you didn't plan this meeting with an hour notice, right? So the public needs time. Now, after what you gave a pre-written speech, it sounds great, right? But that was a pre-written speech. And there's a difference between you guys, Republicans and Democrats. What I love, I hear Commissioner Mejia speak from the heart. I hear Commissioner Pernick speaks from the heart. Ms. White speaks from the heart. But you guys have these pre-written speeches, and no one believes it. We know that you're here just to pass time. The main reason we know, because most of you guys don't speak. The only thing you say is yes or no when you're taking a vote. And so the public, I'm just letting you know that the public, we're aware of it. And we're tired of it. And my last thing with Commissioner Pernick, let you guys know. There is no way out of this, right? You're going to violate at least 3 voting rights. What will you do when it's time for you to go and answer to this? Again, no answer.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Actually, Trustee Bowles brings up a good point. So while we're on the record, I would ask the clerk, Mr. Pulitzer, can we get a copy of all, we keep hearing this list of people that are put on public notice of these meetings. So can we get a copy of all the towns, municipalities, civic groups, school boards, library boards, and a copy of the correspondence that was actually sent putting the public on notice of these meetings? The Democratic delegation has never been given that. So if you would kindly provide us with that, that'd be
I will
great.
take care of that, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pulitzer.
Stephanie Chase?
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Chase. I'm from Lakeview. I have a question, a couple of questions. Have the maps been drawn yet?
Ours have not, no. We're still working on that. I don't know about the Republicans. And
No, I'm talking about them because every time I'm here, I've been here to 4 of the meetings, and the public speaks, and they say no. Every little thing, no. You're not listening to the public then. I don't understand that. And it was definitely disrespectful for you to walk off. I'm out here and it's pouring rain, and I walk from the parking lot in the pouring rain without an umbrella. For you to walk off? Are you kidding me? Also, shouldn't we see the maps first? This seems kind of backwards. How can we comment on something that's not there?
Well, what we're hoping...
It's like air.
What
How can we comment and make any kind of decision? And also, for us to only be given an hour before the real maps are drawn, how is that possible? It takes time to decipher and look through the maps.
What we're hoping to do is hear from you as to how you would like the maps to be drawn before we draw our map.
Well, this is like the 4th meeting already. When are you going to draw the maps?
We have a number of public hearings scheduled, and at those public hearings, we hope to hear from the public as to how they would like the maps to be drawn
We've been telling
and
you,
why.
and you say no every time. You say no. They say what's in our hearts, and you say no.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And, okay, I pay a lot of taxes, and if you guys think that you're going to dilute my voice and put me out, and I'm like struggling to pay my taxes, you got another thing coming. You're going to see the biggest storm you ever saw. We're going to rise up, and we're not going to take this.
Timothy Rogers.
Good evening. To the honorable commissioners, the commission women, of which we have 2 represented here tonight. My name is Timothy Rogers. I spoke at, I believe it was the first or the second, the first one, thank you, in Garden City. And the thesis of my talk was simply, is perception reality? It was a question. Is perception reality? And I honored each and every one of you with the respect that I felt you all deserved by talking to you face to face and giving the audience my back. So So today, I'm going to give you my back and give the audience my face. You know, my wife asked me, Tim, please don't go out and say anything. She begged me not to. And the reason why is because when I spoke the first time about cracking and packing, my supervisor, who sits to the right of me, Eric Millett, fired me the next day in less than 12 hours. He took the food off my table, the money out of my bank account, and I'm a black man that will not run. It will not deter me from being persistent about what I believe. So I'm saying to each one of you that are here now, and the commission may hear me or not, but I'm talking to you. And if you could just simply respond with a yes or no. If you see a bird and it wobbles like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, what do you think it is? And so, if you see a commission that is not representative of the census, what do you think you're going to get? The same thing that we've been getting for the last 30 years. I came to speak at the first meeting thinking that as a man that is just coming to speak for Miss Williams, who lives on my block, who's almost 90 years old and who lost her husband, and for the residents of my community, for the veterans that can't come out, for the women that have children that they have to. I came out to speak for them. And in 12 hours, I was fired. So, you will not muzzle me. I'll turn back to you, Mr. Millett. You will not muzzle me. You don't have the authority to muzzle me. And I just want everyone to know that, and I left you with this thought the last time. Spike Lee is a very dear friend of mine. So can't we all get along? And I guess the answer to that is, well, we will see what the answer to that is. But I just want to leave that with you. And so my wife, Millett, you scared my wife. She's afraid. You want to run me out of Hempstead? You want to run me out of Nassau County? But I'm not scared. I'm a black man in America, and I'm going to face you straight up.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Not only did you speak at that first meeting, you were actually the very first speaker that we had. And at that meeting, you expressed concerns about social and racial justice here in Nassau County. You addressed the commissioners. You're the first speaker. From day one, first speaker said you're concerned about packing and cracking districts. And you stood up for your community. And to hear that you were fired the very next day, I only know what Newsday reports, but it seems pretty suspicious to me. And I want to tell you, I'm going to give you the highest compliment I can give you. You remind me of my father. So when my father spoke out against Fidel Castro in Cuba, he was put in jail for 4 years, and he watched his own brother get tortured and killed in front of him. But he wouldn't relent. And he made it to America. And this means something in this country. My father was put in jail for pro-democracy activity. And you were fired for pro-democracy activity. So God bless you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you.
Mr. Millett, as much as I am sure you are bursting at the seams in a desire to comment, I encourage you not to comment, as this is not the proper forum. And, Mr. Chairman, I ask you to call the next speaker.
Barbara Epstein, please. Barbara Epstein.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barbara Epstein, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters of East Nassau. You've heard this before, but for the public, the League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and advocacy. Both of Mr. Maroney and the Commissioner tonight, you have talked about transparency and following all applicable laws. Yet there is still nothing on the website, and this is our 5th hearing. We suggest you follow the example that was mentioned before of the Suffolk County Bipartisan Commission, which is structured similar to ours. The Suffolk County Redistricting Commission, Republican Chair, I'm going to quote, the chairman is Jesse Garcia said, commission members, and I quote, came together in a bipartisan manner. This is a result of when you put transparency and bipartisanship ahead of pure, unabated politics, unquote. Their commission created 4 minority-majority districts. We hope that this commission keeps this in mind when creating a map. We are also asking residents to contact Mr. Nicoletto, who is the presiding officer of the county legislature and chair of the Rules Committee, which will first vote on a map. We are asking for public hearings before there is a vote on the map. Thank you, gentlemen. We suggest that residents go to the next full legislative meeting, which is scheduled for October 24th at 1 p.m., and do the same. We're asking for public hearings. I'm listening in, and has been mentioned before and mentioned again, about submitting the map on November 10th. I'm glad to hear there are possibilities that there may be some adjustment to that schedule. But please remember that the public must not only tell you what they think about what their communities need, but also they need to be able to look at the maps and give input for that as well. Thank you very much.
Ms. Epstein.
Yes, Mr. Burnett.
I want to just take a moment to thank you for being here and thank the League for its involvement in this process, for providing input and guidance and suggestions. It is appreciated, and we, at least I can speak for myself when I say I read and truly appreciate the suggestions and the input and the involvement of the League in this process. I'm really glad that you raised the Suffolk County precedent and encouraged us to work bipartisan, try and find an approach that complies with the law, that can earn bipartisan consensus in this commission. And as I've said before, I'm committed to doing that. Right now it's not possible. Right now it's not possible because we don't have a schedule that permits it. Under the current schedule, which has not been changed, we don't have that opportunity. We have 1 hour after maps are introduced for us to try and work together to negotiate a compromise. How is that possible? We had no input in that schedule. We had no say in setting that schedule. It was not set by a vote of the commission, which requires 6 votes, and it categorically precludes any opportunity for bipartisan collaboration, something that I know I'm committed to doing, and I know my colleagues on this side are committed to doing. So again, as Commissioner Cascio has asked in this hearing and in the previous hearing, if we've asked, get rid of the schedule that only leaves 1 hour. It doesn't work. And it's designed to prevent that bipartisan collaboration that the League and countless members of the public have been pleading for. And it denies members of the public that opportunity to weigh in. So once again, I want to thank you for your involvement. I want to thank you for the points you're raising. They are important points. They are good points. And I hope that we haven't been able to do it with our resolutions and our motions, so perhaps your continued advocacy could be helpful. Thank you.
Let's go this way. Maybe you'll surprise us. Thank you.
Meta J. Maraday, please.
First of all, if this is an actual hearing, where is the swearing in? Where's the legitimacy for something that seems to be so out of order, illegal, disrespectful, time-consuming? And that near $1 million that you mentioned that's divided between the two, the reporter that did not report when the other half of the commission stayed with the public, that, to me, would be considered a deduction. Do you understand what I'm saying? As a taxpayer, you don't get paid for time served, okay? The job was not done. And the commissioners that walked out, again, as Mr. Brewington said, a call should have been placed to the county attorney. All of this should be on the record, because we already know we're going to court. We already know this. That's why I'm speaking to this side of the room. Otherwise, I do like Mr. Rogers and turn my back. But I'm trying to remain respectful and calm in this process. We already know, it has been noted by experts, not relatives, not friends, not political influencers, that the current map is illegal. It has been dysfunctional. It has been detrimental to communities of color. Clearly, only the 4 of you and the one that we wish his family emergency, everything is okay, care about. We have heard here, and I haven't been at every meeting, but the majority, that there are some on this side who have said, because there only seems to be 1 or 2 people who are speaking, everybody else really should just have a stand-in, a placemat, because there's really nothing else coming out of that side. Where is the fairness here? Where is the representation? We want 5 minority-majority positions, not the shaky 3 that we already have. We want to have input. Okay, so if you want to know what we want, do we not want input? Yes. Do we not want more than 1 hour? Yes. You've heard it. You've heard it before. We don't need 6 or 7 additional meetings to say the same thing. We want it now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. One more time. When do we want it? Now. So it's been said. It's been repeated. It has been restated. I appreciate, Commissioner Mejia, you breaking that down for us, for the information. It was valuable. That presentation could have taken all of what? 10 minutes? So 30 minutes were taken. I appreciate Commissioner Pernick for breaking it down and outlining that there are experts on your side of the room. What do we have from this side of the room? What do we have? Nothing. What do we have? Nothing. What do we want? Nothing. Because we're going to get nothing. Lastly, when do we want it? Now. When do we want the mask? Now. Okay. We can't waste any more time. We have other things that we need to do, and if we can include VFW halls, oh, that's right. The majority of them closed because the funding has been lacking. The majority of those who are now serving in our military are people of color. So you're not only disrespecting the residents, you're disrespecting the military that half of you run around and put your military flag pin on. You attend the pancake breakfast, you sit in the parade, and you're disrespecting the military veterans the wives, the widows, and the family members. How do I know? Because I fight for them myself on my own time and dime every day. Do a better job. We pay too many doggone taxes in this county to be disrespected, underrepresented. The gerrymandering must stop. When is it stopping? Now. Are we ready to go to court? Yes. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And how we spend our money, just for the record, the chair, all the commissioners, Republicans and Democrats, this is an unpaid position, but we are telling you who our consultants are, and they cost money, but so you should know who they are. And one of the ways that we can hide it, and it's been hidden from the public in the past, is 10 years ago the Republicans hired a law firm, and that law firm subcontracted out and said, oh, we just hired a law firm, but they subcontracted out to all these consultants, right? And they didn't tell you who they were, and I suspect that's what's happening now. So that's why we want to make sure that we tell you how your money is being spent and what it's being spent on, and it's being spent, quite frankly, in a nonpartisan way. If it was being spent in a partisan way, I would imagine one delegation that did that would want to hide that from you. So we're doing it the right way. You deserve to know how your money is being spent.
Maria Jordan Awalam.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Jordan Awalam. I am a Freeport resident, and I am president of the Freeport School District Board of Education. So welcome to our school district. I am here once again because clearly nothing has changed. I am here today because we are in a critical moment where immigrant and communities of color are still asking themselves, how can we ensure our voices are heard? I cannot think of a more important way for us to do so than to engage in how our representation is developed and carved out. Our public schools continue to be segregated, creating even more inequities along racial and socioeconomic lines. Many of us already live in areas where we constantly have to fight to be heard. We have to fight to achieve environmental justice for our children. We have to fight for the availability of resources. We even have to fight for basic quality of life services. We shouldn't also have to fight to simply have a right afforded to us as residents and citizens of this country, the right to fair representation. As an educational leader in my community, I stand before you all tonight to implore upon this body to create a process that the people can believe in and that we can trust in for a brighter and more equitable future for all our children. We live in a democracy, and as such, we need our representatives to lead with transparency and to represent us all. We will continue to show up, we will continue to engage, and we will continue to fight for fair maps that will result in legislative districts that accurately reflect Nassau County in 2022 and for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you to the school board and to the administration and staff for helping us here tonight. Thank you very much. While we're waiting, I just want to be very clear for the record. There was a portion of what happened tonight that was not on the record. Unfortunately, the court reporter is kind of caught between what to do, what not to do. The court reporter is not a lawyer. She's not a parliamentarian. So she was advised, by my understanding, by Mr. Pulitzer, the clerk of the legislature, not to no longer take a record of what was being said here tonight. So I would hope in some way, if there's a videotape of this or somehow, that there be a transcript actually, and the record be complete and not censored by directing that there not be a record when there's clearly things that are untenable and inappropriate going on in the parliamentary procedure, which prevents people from having the information that they need going forward. So I would hope that somehow what was said on the record that was directed not to be put on the record gets in the record. So I just want to make it very clear that we never told the court reporter not to stop transcribing the events here today. By the way, neither did the Republican delegation, from what I understand. It was Mr. Pulitzer who did not have the authority to do so. So I want to make it very clear for the record.
Legislator Deborah Muley, please.
Good evening. I'm Nassau County Legislator Deborah Muley, and I'm very proud to represent the beautiful area that we are in right now. It was not my intention to get up and speak. I came to the first hearing. I'm here now because this is where I live. These are the people I represent, and I wanted to hear what they had to say. But I have to tell you, I was so disturbed by what happened here tonight. So disturbed. But I'm going to keep my remarks to one area, because you're hearing from everybody else about a lot of other things. As one of the people who's going to vote on this map, I need to know that it was done in a fair and impartial and transparent way. I need to know that the people's input was heard. I need to know that after the maps are put out, that they have more than 1 hour to make comments, which of course is ludicrous. I did hear Mr. B say, yes, there will be, a calendar will be made available. I guess we'll see. And I hope we can take you at your word. So, as a legislator, you must do your job and make sure that this is a fair process. Thank you.
I want to thank Legislator Muley for her testimony today. It is important testimony. I appreciate it, and I just want to thank you for your leadership in this community and for speaking out for your constituents on this issue here today. We do appreciate it. I also want to turn back to the point that Commissioner Mejias raised prior to Legislator Muley's testimony around the transcript. I agree. The court reporter was placed in an impossible position. It was absolutely not the role of the court reporter to make a decision over whether or not to continue a transcript when there was no motion to adjourn, and that should not have been put on the court reporter. So I want to apologize for myself for the fact that you were in that position. It was not on you. And I want to thank you for everything you've been doing and being so diligent and helpful and working really hard to get a clear and good record. It's not an easy job, so I do want to thank you for that. And I want to ask everybody to join me in thanking the court reporter for being through all of this process. And I would like to make a motion to ask for the portion that was not transcribed to be put in after the fact, so that we have a complete record, and there's a record of what actually happened. There was never a motion to adjourn, so I would make a motion at this point for us to have, using the audio transcript, have the audio recording rather, have the transcript filled in after the fact. I don't think this should be controversial, but I'd like to make that motion at this time so we have a complete record of these proceedings.
I second the motion.
Well, just to make the point, I don't even think the motion's necessary. As we have repeatedly said, anyone who submits anything to the commission will have that made a part of the record. Our objection earlier was to our failure to have received an advance copy from something that was purportedly being presented by the commission rather than by the public, and we had no opportunity to review it. And had you given us that courtesy, we might well have resolved the issue. And having said that, and now having had a chance to glance through the material, we do not take the position that we join with you in the accuracy of the content. That we leave to you. You have decided to disseminate this material. It's from the Democratic delegation. But if you want to submit an audio, a video, typewritten material, anything you want, we have repeatedly said anything submitted into the record will be taken into the record. We simply disagreed with your timing and the manner in which it was done.
Commissioner B, that has nothing to do with my motion. My motion is about the official TDAC transcript. Right now it's not complete. My motion is for us to have a complete transcript of what actually happened here today. So the official transcript corresponds with the record of what happened here today. I think you're talking about something else, so I apologize if I wasn't clear. My motion is very simple and very specific. I am moving for us to have a complete transcript of what happened here today, using the audio file from the recording of this hearing. That's my motion at this point in time, and it's been seconded. It has nothing to do with other submissions.
Second.
All right, so I'd like to understand the motion. You're asking that the audio be transcribed and that a hard copy of that transcription be submitted into the record.
And incorporated into the official transcript from this hearing. The transcript right now, as my understanding is, it's incomplete because the court reporter was not taking a transcription for a portion of this hearing. So my motion is to direct the court reporter to prepare a complete transcript and use the audio recording for the purpose of making that complete transcript.
Well, understanding that that recording includes the chair having ruled it out of order,
Okay.
and that a recess was declared, I'm not sure that it's appropriate to do it that way. I'd like a moment to briefly caucus with my fellow commission members.
And of course, that would be included in the transcript as well. The transcript should be a recording of what happens.
Then,
So that
before
would be
voting on the
included in
motion, I
transcript
would
as well.
like a brief recess to consult with my fellow commission members.
Recess granted.
All those in favor? 1 minute, please.
Are you okay? My understanding is that they'll be coming back in a minute. I don't. Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're on the record right now. So what I would ask you to do is sign up to testify, and I would love to hear what it is you have to say. And please do testify.
Just want to thank everybody for staying. I would ask that you please stay. Don't be deterred, and if you can, we'd love to hear your comments on the record when the court reporter is transcribing what everybody says. There's a guitar back here. Does anyone know how to play guitar? We can have a little concert for a while. She put the time on.
The motion having been moved and seconded, please call the roll.
We're back on the record.
We're back on the record.
Commissioner Peter B.
I mentioned earlier that I think the audio was during a period of time that we were in recess, and procedurally, I don't think it's appropriate that it be done this way. However, We have also said that should the Democratic delegation or anyone wish to submit anything to the commission, we will take it into the record. So rather than stand on ceremony, I will vote yes and take it into the record.
Commissioner John Reinhardt,
Yes.
Commissioner Maureen Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Commissioner Christopher Devane,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Millett,
Yes.
Commissioner David Mejias,
Yes.
Commissioner Jared Cashow,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrea Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner James Megan Jr., Commissioner Michael Pernick.
Yes.
It is unanimous, sir.
Great, the motion carries. Henry Botel?
I think I see a pink one.
Henry Boytel from Rockville Center. I think this gentleman here, I guess, is the Republican chair, indicated earlier, as I heard him anyway, that the commission is permitted but not required to hold public hearings. Is that what you said?
I believe so.
Well, what are you required to do, since you were on that subject?
Well, now is the time actually for public comment. However, I will comment that it is my understanding that we have decided to hold public hearings. So once we have made that decision, we are required to go forward with that decision. So we are holding public hearings, taking the input of the public, following which each commission side will work to create a map or maps, ideally jointly and bipartisanly, but if not separately, and submit our advice. That's all it is, advice to the county legislature about how new maps should be drawn. And then it is up to the legislature to take more public input on that advice and to ultimately make a decision about what the new maps should look like.
Are the meetings of this commission subject to the open meetings law?
Well, I'd rather not be in the position of being your attorney, but we are conducting them as if they are.
Well, are you saying they are or they are not? Or perhaps the chairman can tell us.
What my answer was is that we are endeavoring to conduct them as if they are, but I don't want to be in a position of giving legal advice.
Okay,
Without getting a
as I
fee.
indicated, I'm a resident of Rockville Center. Rockville Center is a landmark community in Long Island. I've lived there and raised a family there for over 50 years. I was on the Board of Education there. I know the community well. Through some manipulation, I would have to say, Rockville Center, which could itself fit within one legislative district, is divided into 3 legislative districts. And if you look at them on the map, you see this very clear gerrymandering kind of formulation of what the district is, or what the districts are. I'm wondering how the Republican members of this committee or commission at all addressed the issue of the manner in which Rockville Center has been apportioned along 3 districts rather than 1.
We hope to address all of the communities and the way they are currently divided and the way that they ought to be divided.
I'm asking if it has that even been addressed superficially up to this moment, because I was not able to make some of the other commission hearings. I went to the first one, but I haven't been to the one since then. Have you at all had a discussion in this public forum about the way Rockville Center is divided?
I don't recall it having come up at any of the public hearings.
Well, I'm raising it.
Thank you.
I'm asking the members of this commission, the Republican members at this point, because you've been silent on these matters, if you would comment now about the way Rockville Center is presently divided and whether it meets with your approval.
The only comment we can have at this point is that we're still collecting information, and we hope to look at all of these issues before our maps are drawn.
So then, you don't have enough information to form an opinion about the present structure of Rockville Center?
I am not making any decision at this point in time. I'm waiting to
I didn't
gather.
ask you about a decision. I said comment.
I-
Just like you're asking us for comments without us having any opportunity to see any maps. I'm asking you to comment about the present structure of Rockville Center, an area that is smaller than one legislative district, having been divided into 3. Will you comment on that?
I can't comment it, or I'm not going to comment on it at this point in time, but we will have as one of our goals an effort to maintain communities of interest in an integral way, but we have not yet formulated any final opinion.
Mr. Boytel, can I ask you a question? You've been
Yes.
you've been in Rockville Center for decades. You've come down to public meetings. You're on the school board in Rockville Center. You know your community well, your friends, your neighbors. How do you feel about Rockville Center being in one district versus 3 districts? What do you and your neighbors, what would you like to see happen?
Well, Rockville Center is one village. It is one school district. It is a broad variety of people from different backgrounds. Some of them been there as long as I have and much longer, and some more recent. It is an ideal place to have, to be characterized as having a community of interest. It is the center of my church on Long Island, the Diocese of Rockville Center. And yet, the Diocese of Rockville Center, if you talk about it as a geographic area of Rockville Center, has been divided into 3 parts. We don't have a unified voice. We don't have the ability to say, to go to a person on the legislature and say, you represent us, and this is what we want or this is what we don't want, which we ought to be able to do. Now, if Rockville Center, a landmark village in Long Island, can be so gerrymandered in the way it has been, suggested it's not would be just failing to accept what the actual obvious facts are. To say that that is proper, and to say that that is in compliance with the laws of the state of New York, or with regard to the Voting Rights Act, etc., would be absurd. And I'm asking this commission, and when I do that, I have to be addressing the Republicans on the commission, because in effect, you're controlling this operation. You're controlling it either by acting or by not acting. And I'm asking you to confront these issues directly and to give Rockville Center a fair voice, a unified voice on the county legislature.
So, Mr. Boytel, you're saying that you and your neighbors in your community would like to have one legislator representing Rockville Center?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kevin McKenna.
Good evening, Kevin McKenna. I want to follow up on the gentleman that just spoke before me. All of you on the left side were at the meeting when I spoke calmly about the 3 legislative districts in Hicksville. I explained to you, I gave you examples as to how residents in one district were not given information from the other districts. I spent 3-4 minutes talking about that. Since I spoke at that meeting, have any of you had discussion and said, you know what? Even though we can't stand Kevin McKenna because he calls out all our nonsense, he's right. Did any of you have any discussion about how blatantly gerrymandered Hicksville is? Mr. B, I'll give you a few seconds. You look a little flustered tonight, especially the last few minutes. You look a little nervous. So have you had discussion and said, you know what? What he said, just like the gentleman before me, even though we were put here to be obstructionists for the Republican Party, what Kevin McKenna said makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't make sense to have 3 legislators in Hicksville. So I'm going to give you a chance to answer that.
I can assure you that I have no recollection of a discussion in which we said, as long as we're only here as Republican obstructionists, we should nevertheless consider what Mr. McKenna had to say. We don't have that kind of conversation. We do hope to address all of the communities and come up with a result that deals with proper
Okay, thank you very
districting.
much. Let me, because I don't want to lose my time. Do you realize, and I give the right side of the room, I give you guys a lot of credit for trying. Everybody coming to this microphone, asking you why you're not doing this and why you're not doing that is a waste of breath. At the second meeting when I spoke about Hicksville, actually it was a different meeting, Mr. Maroney, who's not here tonight, can I ask you your name in the middle?
Thomas W. Alfano.
Okay. Mr. Maroney actually on the record said to a resident that came up to this microphone, he actually said, we're here to listen to you, but we're probably not going to change anything. That's on the record. Mr. Co-Chair, if you could just give me 20 more seconds. He actually said that. So my question to you is, to all of you puppets and mutes, because most of you are mutes.
Excuse me, Mr. McKenna, I just ask that you please not...
You could ask whatever you want,
well,
but I have freedom. I have
that-
freedom of speech, and I can say whatever I want to say to you. How do you like that?
Well, so does everyone on this panel have freedom of speech.
Correct. So I can say what I want to
No one is here
say.
to be insulted. No one is here to be
You're
personally
interrupting me,
insulted.
sir.
You called
You're
them
interrupting me, sir.
Let's just,
Okay.
the court reporter can't take 2 people speaking in one, so I think, Mr. Alfano, you're
Do
right.
you
There should not
guys
be any
realize, social media has exposed you. Do you realize how your reputations are being viewed right now by thousands of people, not just in Nassau County? Do you realize how you're being viewed? Do you realize how arrogant? A gentleman before said that the people on the right side of the room, they speak with heart. And I've had my differences with them, but they are speaking with heart. You guys look like fools to the world. Do you realize that? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Trustee Noah Burrows from the Village of Hempstead.
Mr. Burrows, I believe, spoke earlier.
Frederick Brewington, Esquire.
I usually give my appearance when I see a court reporter. So I give my appearance to you right now, but first I echo my brother, Mr. Pernick. You were placed in a very difficult position, and you are a professional. You wanted to know what to do, and I want to just let you know from everybody here that even though there was anxiety in the room, you did still maintain yourself as a professional as hard as it was. And I just want to say thank you to you. Mr. Alfano, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. All right. I have come prepared, and I see there's a wonderful screen there to do a PowerPoint. So I have my thumb drive. Permission to have the PowerPoint activated, please?
Do you know how long this presentation is?
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes. Can we do that?
By all means, Mr. Brewington, by all means.
Who do I give my thumb drive to? You want to try it? members of the dais, I do have copies for you, and I have a copy for Mr. Polzer. It's so good to see you, sir. Yes. And while that's setting up, let me just tell you what you're going to be looking at. I do thank the members of the commission that wanted to provide something that would be educational, because part of what your job is, and I mentioned this last time I was with you, is not only to get information but also to provide information so that the community is fully and fairly educated about the processes that go into this. And I am not quite sure, and perhaps my brothers on the left side and my sister on the left side can tell me, I don't know if you've had a good presentation about the Voting Rights Act, but I thought it was important for me, other than someone that may be on the opposite side of a table from you, to provide information about Voting Rights Acts, because that seems to be the subject this evening. I saw Mr. Pernick's submission, and I thought that that was excellent. So, and hopefully we'll be able to get this up.
I have one objection. Yours
Sure.
is much nicer than ours. Do you have like graphics in here? This is really nice. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but it only took me 7 minutes to put that together.
It's really nice. I gotta work harder.
I hear you, Scotty. While we're waiting for that, I just want to make sure that members of the dais, since you are in the general area of Freeport and Rockville Center, that geographic area, not only is Rockville Center divided up between three districts, but Freeport, which has such a concentrated minority community, let me say that again, Freeport, which has such a concentrated minority community, is divided up in, and let me just ask, any of you know how many districts Freeport's divided up into? How many? I know that, Scott. I wouldn't ask you. 4. That is the epitome of cracking. It doesn't become more clear. So what you do is you take the black and Hispanic population that are communities of interest that live with each other, that strive with each other, that lift each other up on a daily basis, and you divide them up so that they cannot impact what's going on in their own communities by electing candidates of their choice. That's cracking. Then you've heard a term called packing. Right now, there are 3 districts, 3 minority-majority districts that are approximately 80 to 90% packed, which means that no matter what happens with regard to those districts, their voices cannot be heard anyplace else. And you say, well, how do those two survive together? The reality is that they shouldn't. They shouldn't survive together, and the Supreme Court of the United States has said that they can't. So what I'm asking you, and hopefully we'll get that up if we can. If not, I'll wing it. But I'm asking every member here to stop, as I asked before, and coalesce, meet, and talk about what you can do to change the course of history in Nassau County. History, and Mr. McKenna, where are you?
Right here.
He's right.
You're the first person to ever said that.
Well, I'm going to agree. You know,
I second that.
Give credit when credit's due. There, I mean, Mr. B, you and I talked a lot about things. We've discussed legal issues. There's no way, from a rational standpoint, that there should be this type of divide. There's no way that there should be no votes on whether or not we're going to allow people to have information. One of the things you just did was prove the point. And I was so glad when Mr. B said, let's go caucus, because you made a decision that you could all agree. And the fact that you agreed on a vote to have the record clear impacts the fact that you made decisions in the past to not allow information to go into the record. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And I'm encouraging you, if we can't get that technically, you got it now. I'm encouraging you at this point to stop doing this partisan dance. Turn the music off. As they say in that movie, turn that racket down and get to the work that needs to be done. You can surprise everybody out there in social media land if you came back tomorrow and said, you know what, I must have hit my head on something last night, but I've come to my senses. And I'm ready to now let's talk and talk about the processes that are intended to try and lift our democracy up, not separate us one from the other. There's no reason why anybody should be looking over here and seeing enemies. But that's what's being created. You're creating division within communities. You may say that's not your intent, but the reality is that that's what's taking place. All right, so
I'm going to stand over here just a...
I don't know if this is going to work. Somebody back there is praying. All right, you know what? Don't worry about it. Let me just tell you what you have here. What you have here is a presentation that talks about what the right to vote is supposed to be. And the Supreme Court of the United States says the right to vote freely for the candidate of one's choice is of the essence of a democratic society. And any restrictions on that right strike at the heart of representative government. That's not Fred Brewington speaking. That's the Supreme Court of the United States in Reynolds versus Sims. Citation is in the paper. Then I provided you, in case you haven't really had a chance to read it, the Voting Rights Act, Section 2. That's right here in this document. Yeah, just flip the page. It's the two orange pages. Section A and Section B. Why? I wanted to make sure that as you go into this endeavor and as you provide things to the legislature, the record to the legislature, that there's no doubt that you have the information, the actual value of the words that make up Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Why? Because when the lawsuit comes, that's what it's going to be based on in part. Then Mr. Pernick mentioned about the Jingles factors, or the 3 preconditions. That's here also on this page. And I give that to you so that you understand that, one, Freeport's a great example. The minority group must be sufficiently large and geographically compact to constitute a majority in a single-member district. That's one. 2, it must be politically cohesive. We know that. Deborah, you know that, don't you? Yeah. And 3, the white majority must vote sufficiently as a bloc to enable it, in the absence of special circumstances, to defeat the minority's preferred candidate. That's happened over and over and over again, and those records, those races will be tested. Last couple of slides. It's a picture of John Lewis. Why do we hold a picture of John Lewis up in this place? Because New York State, with a lot of help from good advocates, made sure that they named the Voting Rights Act, the New York State Voting Rights Act, after John Lewis. And if you remember, I bent my knees like I was, excuse me, Pastor, like I was getting ready to preach. I had to bend my knees because I can't wait. When that law comes into effect, it will change the face of how we deal with voting rights in the state of New York. And that's, as my friends from Jamaica say, soon come. John Lewis Voting Rights Act is then delineated on the pages. Why? So that you cannot say that you were not informed, that it dealt with voter dilution, voter suppression, voter intimidation, deception, and obstruction. Then expanding language access and pre-clearance, which brings back the old Section 4 and 5 requirements under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Nassau County has an opportunity to do the right thing now. The last two slides, or last one slide, is a very simple slide. And this is what I ask you to take to heart. It's a picture of people standing on boxes. And I think you can hear me. And it's about equity. Not equality. Equity. And the concept of equity and equality has evaded America for a long time. Equity is when people are placed on the right level so that they get a chance to be on the same level. Equality is me giving you 50 cents and you 50 cents, but you don't get 2 extra inches. Equity is where I give you 50 cents and 50 cents, and I give you lifts to lift you up 2 extra inches. So on these boxes that are on this page, the person in blue starts out looking over the fence. The person in red starts out barely looking over the fence, but the person in purple cannot see over the fence. If we are dealing, and that's equality. They're all on the same level. But equity changes the historical components and gives the person in purple 2 boxes, just like 5 districts, so that they have a chance to see into and be part of the game. You can't be in and part of the game unless there are decisions made to make sure that equity is provided to the communities who have been oppressed and violated in such a way that everybody that sees that should simply say, I want to change that. And those who don't want to change that will be convinced. So my PowerPoint's not working, but seems like there wasn't a plan for a PowerPoint anyhow. But I'm leaving my disc, my PowerPoint, for the record, along with this slideshow, to make sure, once again, that you are fully informed, that when you make bad decisions, you have been given information which tells you that your decisions are indeed bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brewington. The PowerPoint was working earlier. I really apologize.
Thank you. James Hodge.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. I may not have it, James Hodge, Long Beach, I may not have it in the right key that you may think I should have it in, but there's been many Republicans, Democrats, blacks, and whites that sung that song that came together to make right decisions. When we look at the atrocity that goes on meeting after meeting, it is ridiculous. I'm sick and tired. I got a bullhorn, I had to go to the safety aisle because this is a 911 call, and we got Nassau County great officers in the back, and we thank God for what law enforcement and the security is here in case there's a safety issue. But there's a safety issue. Do you see it? Do you hear the calls from the Middle Passage to the Amistad? Do you hear the black and white people fighting? Black people have only been able to vote for 57 years. Do you hear? Or are we just appointed to do a job? Eric Millett, pastor, I give you great respect. You're a black man, but stand up, you can speak for yourself. He didn't have to tell you that you can't answer to him. You can tell him, I can't speak about that. That's it. You're a black man and you're a pastor, and we've been through too much. Nobody has to speak for you. I want everybody to hear the God that you preach about every Sunday. I want them to hear when it talks about the people that are being treated wrong. I want you to talk to them about what God is going to do, because he's going to stir things up. I want you to talk to them. Everybody didn't have to walk out if they didn't present something. Okay, sit down. You don't agree with it, you don't agree with it. Mr. Devane, I know you a long time. You was a prosecutor. Now you're a defense attorney. There's people calling for you to defend them, Chris. You're great. You speak well. You won a lot of cases. Win the case for the people, Chris. How could you guys have nothing to say? People are coming in the rain. I came from Long Beach. How could he speak for you, Pastor? He's busting at the seams to speak, but he's not going to say nothing. This is not the place. You can say that. This is not the place. I'm not going to say it. If you got to get fired, listen to what God is saying, because God will give you a job better than all of this. Nobody dictates to us what to do when we serve a God as big as we serve. Republican, Democrat, nobody. Women has only been able to vote for 100 years. Men listened to their mothers, and then men went and said their mothers couldn't even vote. Young lady, stand up and speak up. I say to you, there's people hurting. Do you care that people hurt? Do you care that people are perishing? Do you care? Let the people hear you say, so this is history. It's going around the country. As I said before, what would your families think? There were people back then that said slavery was good. There was people back then that said lynching and brought their kids to see it. There's 19 legislators, not one is Latino. Do you think that's fair and right? Do you think it's just good to get them to do the jobs that you want them to do? Now, I know some of you. And as I said before, if you don't speak to me after this, it's all right, God got me. You hear me? God got me. Maybe you need to call Long Beach. Maybe we need to show up at some of your houses and let the neighbors know what's going on. Maybe we need to show up with the bullhorn and tell the neighbors what's going on. Because people are hurting. The decisions, and as I close up, the decisions that you're making, it's not just a simple vote. It's votes. Who knows whether you'll be here in 10 years? Who knows whether I'll be here in 10 years? It's not, and one speaker said you'll find out if the decisions was right or wrong. You know that wrong. It's tons of evidence right now. Pastors say that you don't want to be on this committee because you see the wrong and you're still here. Don't be a part of nonsense and corruption. Don't be a part of it. You're a pastor that's over people's lives. And you shouldn't be a part of this nonsense, what's going on here. You shouldn't be a part of it. And so I brought my bullhorn because we shall overcome. Yes. In the midst of all that we've gone through, we are people that rise to the occasion. And so if some don't believe the God that we serve, and I don't know whatever beliefs that we have in here, but whatever you call him, I'm calling on him every night to show and shake up some grounds that you walk on, because God will have the last say. God bless you.
Dr. Emily Moore. Dr. Emily Moore. Amen. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Emily Moore. I grew up on 114 East Sunrise Highway in Freeport, where Staples was. I'm part of Cleveland Avenue and in the first graduating class of Freeport High School. I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer. Kennedy said when I was in high school, I said this before, ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. As a citizen of the United States of America, we pay federal, state, and local taxes, whether it's a Republican in office or a Democrat in office. It's the government and elected officials, from the president, the Congress, the senators, to meet the needs of all the people. We're considered a melting pot. I've been all over the world. I haven't been to Australia, I haven't been to China, and I haven't been to Japan, but I've been to Africa many times. Been to Israel, been to Turkey, been to Greece, Canary Islands, Mexico. I've been trained and exposed, and we were poor. My father said, that black stuff gonna get you nothing but trouble. My sister said, memorize the book, don't count on the teacher to teach you. And my mother said, try your best and do your best. But I grew up right down the street here. I walked these same schools, was trained and raised by people from every walks of life. So when they said, well, how did you go to those different countries? You give people respect, they'll respect you. My thing is training young people to be all they can be. You are somebody. You have to be able to know that education, you come to school to get an education, to listen and learn, read and write, and when you fall down, you get back up. I'm not going to go on anymore, but the thing is, you got the lawyer here, you got the guy from Long Beach. We put our lives on the line in the 60s. I've been a pioneer in the civil rights struggle. John Lewis, I've met him many times. He told us, our class, we were pioneers. Y'all said, no bail, we're staying in prison. Whole week in prison, arrested 3 times in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a graduate of Morgan. President said, you go down there and get involved in that demonstration, going to put you out of school. I was on campus. I said, well, let me move off campus, because if I don't show up at night, they can put me out of school. So I took 2 buses to get an education. That's not the point. I'm an example of overcoming the obstacles, making changes, standing up. When you talk about losing your job, I was denied tenure in Roosevelt. I'm a part of the school board now. I told the superintendent when he denied me tenure, he said, you're not needed. You're not needed in this community. I said, you showed that I did outstanding work. What does it mean when people are afraid? All for one and one for all. We are people of the United States of America. United States of America. Do you see what's happening all over the country? It is not about a few individuals if I have to pay federal, state, and local taxes, everybody should have to pay, whether it's a Republican or Democrat in office. We have to be fair. We have to make a change, because he who fails to organize, motivate, and educate and train these young people, don't blame them when they don't measure up, or don't blame them because you're afraid to say you somebody. You could do it. I'm here to train and talk to people. I'm getting ready to go. I missed a program at the school. I ran for the school board. I ran 3 years and lost. But I told the superintendent, I'll be here when you're gone. I've seen 20 superintendents come and go in Roosevelt. What does it mean that if you don't train and educate children, and I got over 5 generations of kids, they all over the country, doctors, lawyers, engineers. Why? Because I told them you could be somebody if you work hard and you demonstrate yourself and don't give up when the going gets tough. That's all I have to say. I stayed here tonight. I want to come be with some children tonight because that's where I put my time in. But you have children. You're the future. It's up to you all. This country, the world is waiting for America. Not white folks or black folks. The United States of America, the people of the United States, to come together and do what's right for the world. Because you making decisions that's going to reflect the whole world. Everybody's watching. I've been all over. I've been working with all different types of people.
H. Scotty Guardino Coates.
That's our girl.
Good evening, Commissioners. You've seen this face. This is the 3rd time. The message is basically the same. I can't follow Mr. Hodge. Mr. Hodge gave it to you like you really deserve to get it. To the Commissioners, Chairman, and to those of you that spent hours on end to bring to our communities information that we, hopefully, will help many of us understand the redistricting process. I also must thank all of the organizations and individuals who diligently attend these hearings, expressing their concerns on how terribly our community are constantly being disenfranchised. My community of black and brown people are sick and tired of fighting for the things that other communities automatically get without a fight. Without a fight, no matter how much we talk, no matter how much we present, no matter how much we fight, it never ends for us. In my last statement to this body, I requested that the lines should be drawn to include 5 minority-majority districts. That was spoken of quite a few times tonight. We know the population has increased over 10 years because we can just look at the community and see the growth. But yet we only deal with 3 minority-majority districts. My request is on the basis of how much our communities have grown since the last 10 years. This can be done without interference of the present 3 districts. Don't touch the 3 districts, add 2 more. In addition, let me speak about gerrymandering briefly. Gerrymandering of the lines will be watched closely by our communities. Please know that things have changed in our communities. We all are aware that these lines drawings are not as it was 50 or 60 years ago. People of our community are aware of the trickery and the blatant tact the conservatives have used in the past. I say conservatives and progressives because I represent the strong 113-year-old NAACP, and I don't speak on parties. Residents attending these hearings are attending to see that your move will be, see what your move will be, and what bipartisan effort is being put forth to give our community what it deserves to get. Let's show those lines to the public so we can show the lines what's taking you so long. 4 hearings and you still haven't produced the map. Let's show the lines so the public can begin to see that government worked for us as well as the other communities. I beg of you, I don't believe I used that word, draw the lines with fairness. With fairness. We are people too. We live here. We work here. We raise our children here. We pay high taxes here in Nassau County. We do the same thing that other communities do. And so, to let you know, we are tired. When we say tired, we are tired of fighting for everything that we are entitled to get without a fight. And that's across the country. New York is no different. As a matter of fact, we're seeing things in New York happening that we didn't see 10 years ago. Yeah, you drew the lines terribly 10 years ago, and we had to live with it. But this time, we're going to see you wherever we need to see you. And if it's in court, everybody listen. Whoever here, we intend to see you follow out the progressives to court if they have to. That's right. And that's what we will do. That's right. This is no joke. We're not playing. We're not playing. Everybody in this room understand what redistricting is. And if they don't fully understand, they know when they're being mistreated. We all know when we're being mistreated. And so, again, do the right thing. I say to you, be fair when you draw the lines. We want to see them. And we're not going to approve everything that you draw, because I know you're going to gerrymander like you don't believe. Yeah, I'm upset. And I'm tired of fighting for what we are entitled to having. Fairness in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Gianna Rodriguez.
My name is Jonna Rodriguez, and I am a lifelong Freeporter, a small business owner, a committed educator, and a human being at heart. And I would like to echo the sentiments of the residents who have spoken before me. It seems, and it is critical, that we the people are told who are drawing these maps, because we understand the importance of transparency, and we understand what equity is about. I would like for the Commission to provide adequate time when it comes to the people being able to view these maps, which we understand is a constitutional and fundamental right. As I've stated before, as a lifelong resident, I sat in this audience today and watched each and every one of you, those who spoke and those who didn't, be reflective of the type of leadership that I, an active voter, understands the importance of. And so for me, being part of this millennial generation that is becoming powerful with our movement of being part of the process it is critical that you take into consideration that the communities of color are being impacted the most. I am a reflection of this community. And as much as I'm looking at every single one of you that is sitting on that stage, I don't see the diversity that I wish to see. And I understand the importance of bipartisan and working alongside everyone to be able to do what's right for all communities, not for some, not for any political gain, but to truly, truly respect our fundamental right of protecting our right to vote. And I would just like to say that I was saddened when you got up and you walked off the stage, because I actually believed being here at my first hearing, as much as I'm involved in the community, I would think that we would be respectful enough to honor everyone here and to honor yourselves. And as disappointed as I am hopeful that you will understand the importance of being fair when it comes to drawing up these maps and letting the public know who is drawing up these maps, and again, providing the adequate time for the public to be able to look at these maps. That 1 hour timeline or window that you're providing is going to continue feeding the systemic and racist system that continues to plague our communities every single day. And as much as I can't preach like the ones that have went up before me, what I can say is that I am committed to serving my community, and I am committed to doing everything that I need to do to ensure that our future, those that will come after me, have the right to vote. Because that right was fought for so many years. And even today, it is still up for debate if it's a constitutional right for, in the view of some, not in the view of the law, and I am not an attorney. And so I would just like for each and every one of you to please take into consideration your important duty, your duty to support all communities, and your duty to be reflective of the way that I view Nassau County. Because I view Nassau County as a diverse, inclusive, accessible county that allows for everyone to have an opportunity to thrive. And as an educator, a committed educator, I understand the importance of our black and brown children, and their lives are at stake today. And so I am here when I was supposed to be at another meeting because I understood the importance of not just my presence, but hearing from each and every one of you. And so I thank those that have provided the adequate information regarding what this process entails, because not everyone does understand that process, because access to information is inaccessible in communities of color. And so we thank you, I thank you, and for those that have been silent, I am not here to speak ill of you because I do not know you, but I can only judge you based off of your actions tonight. And what I can say is that it isn't the leadership that I would like to see lead such an important cause such as this one, because you have the future of our world in your hands right now. And we have to do something. And if you don't do anything about it, then we have to stand up and be able to do something, because it seems like nothing is being done. And this is my first meeting. So I just would like to thank each and every one of you, and to please remember that there are children that are watching and believing in the American dream. And those dreams are being shattered every day because of the fact that this gerrymandering is happening across all states across this country when it comes to voting rights. And it is a fundamental and it's a constitutional right. Thank you.
Susan Cools.
Good evening. I would just like to make a few points. First and foremost, I certainly hope that there is going to be a full investigation into Mr. Rogers possibly losing his job simply for utilizing his First Amendment rights. And if that, in fact, is what happened, it's disgusting. And anybody who had any part in that should reap the ramifications that would justly go with that act. That is horrible, and it's a slap in the face to everything that we're supposed to all stand for and that our country is supposed to stand for. And speaking of a slap in the face, anybody that could even so much as propose that an hour be given for the voters to review something as important as what we are talking about, that is nothing but disrespectful and an absolute slap in the face to every one of us voters. And then I'd like to say that I am currently the president of the Baldwin School Board, and I can tell you that every time there's been one of these meetings, we received the email late afternoon, the day before the meeting. So, you know, that's not hearsay. That is exactly what is happening. And then the last point I would like to make is actually not to you guys. It's to everybody out here. It is absolutely time that we stop putting our power in the hands of politicians that care nothing about us. They care only about party lines, because we need to all realize it's 2022. And I don't know if you've ever heard the term crowdsourcing. Every single one of us has the ability to go out, and it's our duty, and we should be doing it. Speak to 5 people. Tell them what is happening and tell them why it's important to them and how it will affect their lives. People don't understand. They don't understand these things are happening. They don't know how it might affect their lives. We do. Let's go tell them. You tell 5 people. They'll tell 5 people. Get on your social media. You make a post about it. How many people in 3 minutes' time will see that? A lot more than 5. Then they'll share it. Then they'll share it. In a matter of a couple hours, you can inform 1,000 people about what's going on. That's where the power lies, and that's what we have to do.
Thank you. That was very cool. And you do make a good point. I would say that it is ironic that, you know, my Republican colleagues wanted more time to review our PowerPoint than they're going to give you to review the maps.
G. Dady Smalls.
Good evening, Commissioners. And it's Dewey. I'm sorry,
My apologies.
I still write like I'm in 5th grade, so I went to this school, so I don't know what that says about my penmanship, but it's been a long day. But thank you very much for holding these meetings. Transparency is very important. You need to hear from us. You need to see us. We need to see you. But I also want you to recognize something that's important to me that I've been sensing and feeling for a long time doing this political stuff. It's important for you guys to recognize that I'm not up here complaining that I'm a black man and you're not giving me a break and you're turning me away. I'm not saying that. But I am saying this. I have experienced on a consistent basis the inequity when it comes to voting in our communities. And I say that because I've seen from this past mayoral election closed polling sites to damage his opponent because that opponent, that was their area where their votes were. But he closed the polling sites and he cited that, well, it's for COVID-19, but we're going to make you walk 1.5 miles to the Freeport Rec Center, get on public transportation, and go vote. We're always struggling with this issue, and it's communities of color. Why? Why is it just us? I'm afraid literally afraid after January 6th, I may wake up one day and you would just say, the voting rights, nix that. We don't need it anymore. I'm afraid of that because it's true. After what we saw, after what we've seen, how am I to interpret this? I believe in you guys. I believe you will do the right thing. Everyone should be able to participate and not feel that this right is taken away from them, or they're going to be challenged, or have somebody. I've seen at polling locations where the person didn't speak English and they made the person feel bad because they couldn't speak English. It's not their fault. If they came to this country, we all came to this country. But let's just be fair. Stop being greedy. Both sides. We want to participate. We want you to lead us there. But if you keep doing stuff like this, and I'm sorry, walking out like that, that was just a childish move. That was just why. Because you want to go like, hey guys, let's not listen to them. No, you sit there and take it. Because you're in that position. And we want to support you. But as a black male in this country, I'm tired of this. Please understand, I'm not whining to you, but I'm tired of this. We deal with this every year. Why? I'm willing to sit and listen and debate and have conversations, go out, have coffee. Come on. It's only voting. We all want to be counted. And when you're not counted, you can't participate.
Donovan Legond.
Hi, my name is Donovan Lagonde. I'm a senior in Freeport High School, and I just wanted to ask a question that I just been like dying to answer. More specifically to the people that voted like no for that hour versus 1 week. I just wanted to ask like why 1 hour versus 1 week? I'm not really sure how it's fair to the public, how they only get like 1 hour to like look at the maps instead of like more than 1 week, even like more than 1 week, maybe 2 weeks or more time to like look at the maps and like check them out. So can you just like tell me why?
I don't know whether you were here the entire evening, but I had mentioned before that all we're doing right now is saying that we don't want to fix any new timeline at this point in time. It has already been said that the tentative schedule is subject to change. So I'm expecting that there will be some modifications, but it's not the time to set a new schedule yet.
Okay. So like, are you just saying that it's not the time to like have the people use like more time to look?
Well, this is an overstatement to make the point, but remember, it's the county legislature that draws the new maps, not us, the county legislature. We're asked to give advice to the county legislature on what we think the maps should look like. Once the county legislature gets our advice, they hold more hearings, and they ultimately can reject what we do, they can accept what we do, they can modify what we do. They're starting in a way from scratch. They have our advice, but they're free to write whatever maps they feel are appropriate, and they have their own hearing process, at which point in time the public will once again be able to comment. This process, and again I'm overstating it to make the point, is a process in which the commission is supposed to give advice to the legislature, And that advice, in part, comes from hearing from the public, what changes do you think ought to be made with the way things are currently? Do you want a particular village kept together? Do you want a particular line split apart? Should a line in a given district be moved more to the east, more to the west? Once we hear from the public as to what changes you would like to see in the existing maps, then we do our own study, our own discussion, our own conversations, our own consultation with lawyers, map makers, and we ultimately say, all right, we've heard from the public, we've done our internal consultation, legislature, here's what we think the maps ought to look like. Then it's up to the legislature, again, to take those maps and send them back out to the public for hearings and ultimately decide what map to adopt.
Okay, we can do better than that, I submit to you. If our job is to, as Mr. B had said, is to provide to the legislature our recommendations with respect to the maps, our recommendations are best informed if the public has a meaningful opportunity to review the maps well in advance of the time that they're submitted to the legislature. So for my colleagues on the other side of the table to say that they're not going to vote today to afford the public more than 1 hour because they're not comfortable with the schedule, it should be at least more than 1 week. We should have that vote now so that the public is ensured that they are at least going to have 1 week to consider these maps. We can do better than simply saying, here, legislature, do what you want. I want us to come up with a bipartisan plan, if we can, that is well-informed, that includes all of the public comment that we can muster and present it to the legislature, because that is the best product that this board can produce. To just go through the motions and have 1 hour of contemplation over very important maps, as everybody here well understands, is ridiculous to me.
Thank you.
Well, just to tell you how important it is, why is your county legislature important? Because your county legislator is in charge of a lot of different stuff, your roads, your parks, there's the Mass University Medical Center, like the public safety and the police, who are here tonight, by the way. And I just want to thank, Nassau County's finest for being here tonight. We haven't seen you at any meetings before, but we're glad you're here tonight. Thank you for coming tonight. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully you can come to the next meeting too. And you've been missing out on so much. I can't believe you guys haven't wanted to come down to more of these meetings. So public safety is important, and how your communities are, whether or not your roads are paved and how they're patrolled and your public safety. Your county legislators have a big impact on that. So the difference of, majority and minority communities having 5 versus 3 legislators out of 19 is a tremendous difference. It could mean bonding, borrowing money that you're going to have to pay back with your taxes when you get older. So we really do appreciate you coming down. And hopefully you'll bring some of your classmates with you. I hope you did your homework. It's after 9 o'clock tonight. But thank you for coming down. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for you. Quick question. Did you say that you're a senior?
Yes.
Here at Freeport? And how old are you? 17, 18?
17.
17. So you're here 17 years old, giving us your evening to testify. I just want to thank you for not only testifying, but hitting on one of the most important points in this hearing. So thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for being here.
And it's especially important because this process is going to affect you and your generation more than anybody else here. Because this is going to be a map that exists for a decade, for the next 10 years of your life and everybody's lives, but it's your future, it's the future of the other 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, seniors at Freeport and in high schools across the county. So thank you for speaking out for the next generation. I really appreciate it, and I think I speak for everybody when we thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard? Those are the only slips that we have.
Can you come to the mic so that we can make sure what you say is on the record and we can all hear you, because we want to hear what you have to say.
Linda Wright.
With a W?
W. I am always right, though. I just want to say this heartfelt thing. January 6th changed me. I always felt there were 2 sacred things: the church, where we worship, and our capital. For that to happen, even now when I think about it, it brings me to tears because I've had military people in my family. The last one was my brother. The younger ones, you know how they are. But anyway, I just want to say I would love and I would embrace New York if we would be the leaders. New York is extremely powerful. We here in New York can show the rest of the world how it's done, and it will truly change the way government is being run right now. I'm begging you to stay away from the political mayhem that has occurred in this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, is there anyone else? Oh, okay.
Show us that some of them speak.
Hello, how are you? Good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Boone. I'm a Village Hempstead trustee. Nice to be here. I've been at like maybe 3 of your meetings. We just keep hearing the same thing over and over again. It really seems like one side cares, one side couldn't really give a damn. And everybody keeps going back to fairness. And I hope you can sleep with yourselves at night with one group of people trying to do the right thing. It seems like some of you may be on the fence. Some of you may want to do the right thing because of a party you don't. Again, I hope you just do this with fairness in the way the lines are drawn, because it affects everybody, and it affects you, it affects your kids, like you said, 10 years from now. So really think about what you're doing, because what you're doing could backfire, and backfire on your own children, your own relatives, when you go against doing the right thing. So again, I'm just coming here and asking and praying that you work together in doing the right thing for everybody in this room, everybody in Nassau County. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mimi Pierre Johnson from Elmont, and I wasn't going to say anything because I can't wait. I'm salivating when you all come to Elmont. But when I saw Tom Alfano sitting there, I was actually very happy. Because for those of you who don't know Tom Alfano, you used to be my assembly person. Have you seen Elmont? Have you seen what happened to us? You left right before, I think, the Republican Party went crazy. And I just need you to tell your party how wonderful of representation we used to have in Elmont before you left. You used to speak to Democrats, Republicans, it didn't matter. The thing that was important to you was your district. How are the schools? You used to bring us a lot of money, a lot of funding for our schools. When you left, they took us to Queens. You used to care about our roads. Have you seen our roads? You used to care about the garbage. Have you seen the garbage? We used to have the street sweepers come twice at least. I barely see one. Last time I saw one, I took a picture. Things have gone really badly because our parties have decided that they were going to be partisan. I hope that seeing you here means that there's a glimmer of hope that you said, we're going to start working the way when I was a politician. I don't know where you have been, but it was really better when you were around. So as your former constituents, please speak to that side. I don't know them, but I know you. And I appreciated the way Elmont was. And I hope, I sincerely hope, the first Republican that invited me as a Democrat to Women of Distinction at Clara Carson's, not lunchroom, cafeteria. You did that. You didn't care whether I was or not. Things change when you left. And what we see here, that's what we get all the time. I'm a little older, a little bigger, but a little wiser. And I'm telling you, I know my stuff now. And I'm asking you to please talk to them. Look at Scotty. Do you remember Scotty?
Of course I do.
Do you remember her?
Of course I do.
So the next time this happens, I'll be 70. So that's why when a previous speaker said that he doesn't want it, this has to stop. And I shouted out. I said, yeah, it is going to stop because I don't intend to do this again when I'm 70. The young people, we're teaching them now to do this, but I have hope seeing you sitting there. So please, don't act like them. That was not the elected official you were. I loved you then as my representative. You were one of the reasons why I got involved in community work and bipartisan work. Until this day, I still work bipartisan. But what I'm seeing here and what I'm seeing across this country now, that's garbage. And we're not going to stand for it anymore. We're wiser and we understand redistricting. So I thank you and I hope you remember the days back and bring it back to your party because they need you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the record, I was surprised, but I was happy to see you too, Tom.
I'm an accidental participant. As you all know, the chairman is ill. But is there anyone else who would like to be heard? And by the way, Ms. Johnson, I really appreciate those kind words. And I wish my sainted mother was here to hear it, and I'm sure she is. With the number of reverends in this room and people of faith, I'm sure she is here. But thank you.
Motion to adjourn? I would gladly second that if you want to actually make the motion.
My name is Charles Robbins. I'm from Roosevelt, a little small town, 1 square mile. And we suffer all the time. Everything that other communities have, we don't have it. Because the way, how you got that map, you know, we can't vote. Our vote don't mean nothing. Don't mean not one thing. Okay. Well, anyway. Listen, what I'm saying to you is that young man that was here, that 17-year-old, he's the one that wanted to be ruled by what you got, the decision that you make. Now, I don't know, maybe you don't have children. The black, the brown, the white, they're all together now, and they talk. They do not want to be given anything. They want to earn it. They don't want to be. I coached football for 20 years. And the black teams and the white teams come together. First down, second down. I don't want you to give me anything. I want to earn it. Don't make these maps where you would embarrass your children later on in 10 years. Because they're going to see, oh, Daddy did this because of my color. Daddy did that because of my color. You're talking black and white. Listen, these kids are not separated anymore. So now, if you don't do the right thing, they're going to let you know. You know, when your kid goes in his room and closes his door and you ask him, I cannot speak to you. No, Daddy, you can't speak to me. Because you did this. You made my friend angry. He told me about it. I couldn't get this because of that. Come on now. This is not the 1920s here. This is not the 1962. You got to be fair. If you don't be fair, you're going to pay. And now, I mean, you can look at me and think I'm crazy if you want to. I'm telling you, your daughter might marry one of these black kids here. Wow. I'm telling you, that's the way it rolls now. So now, you can act like this is not happening. You have the power to change all of this. The young man came there preaching. God is real. And He worthy to be praised. But now if you don't see it, I mean, you can stand on the other side of that fence if you want to. But He's real. Now, if you don't believe that your child and my child and all the rest of the children, they are not like the 1962 and the 1970 children. They are different. They don't want you to give me nothing. I want to earn it. They don't want you to build a map where all of these people over here gets it and then all of these people don't. They don't want that no more. The ones that has the responsibility of setting this straight, take that responsibility. Stick your chest out and say, I did that. Don't hide behind this type of situation here, because this is not right. I make a map where it'll be fair to everybody. The voters. People died to vote. I remember my father, I'm from Georgia myself, and you know what it is. My father used to come home, told me, hey, he gave me a bushel of apples, man, to vote this way. I mean, what is this, man? Come on, this is not like that no more. Everything is gone. Like that's over with. We are educated peoples today, and we can earn our living. Give us an opportunity, and you'll see. Yeah, I mean, the world is turning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that closes our public hearing for tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here and braving the elements and being heard. And believe me, you are heard, each and every one of you. And I think I speak on behalf of all the members up here when I say thank you, truly thank you for lending your opinions to this very important process. If there's no other business, I move to adjourn.
Well, I'm not sure you can make the motion, but I'll make the motion, and I believe it's going to be seconded.
Seconded.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.